In the White House, President Eisenhower signs the proclamation that makes Alaska's entry into the Union official, nearly 92 years after Lincoln's Secretary of State bought the territory from the Russian Tsar for $7 million.
The Alaska Wild Project podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Barney's Sports Chalet, supplying hunters with the best hand-selected gear since 1963. The exclusive home of frontier gear built for the rugged Alaskan terrain. Your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs. Visit Barney's today at 906 West Northern Lights.
Arbor Digital, the forefront of digital assets, cryptocurrencies, and wealth management, providing a low-cost, research-based investment strategy for Alaskans looking to invest their hard-earned money. Visit acminc.com today to put your money to work.
Tailored Restoration 24-hour emergency home services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, repair, and remodeling. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, or Fairbanks. Hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.
Total Truck and Alaska Overlander, Alaska's premier supplier for custom automotive accessories and overlanding products, providing all-inclusive rental vehicles and trailers custom outfitted to explore the Alaskan backcountry with a unique and convenient traveling experience.
Serrano's Mexican Grill, 2 locations, one on Tudor, one on Northern Lights. The Northern Lights location has their new tequila bar. Check it out. Also see their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
TheTreehouseAK.com, located at 341 Boniface Parkway, Alaska's own and grown cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bud tender what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off. The Treehouse, where the culture lives.
The Connoisseur Lounge, Alaska's premier locally owned and operated cannabis retailer, located in the heart of Palmer, Alaska. Their cultivated products include Snowcap Romance, Aurora Haze, Super Glue, and much more. Find them at theconnoisseurlounge.net.
AKO Farms, located in Sitka, Alaska, built from the ground up with concentrates as their single motivation, with exclusive products such as their sugar wax, full spectrum diamond sauce carts, and more. Ask your local bud tender about AKO. Marijuana has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming and addictive. Marijuana impairs concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence. There are health risks associated with consumption of marijuana. For the use of only by adults 21 and over. Keep out of the reach of children, and marijuana should not be used by women who are pregnant or breastfeeding.
The Bait Shack, located on Ship Creek upstream of the bridge. Can't miss the bright red shack. They're the go-to fishing gear rental and guide service on Ship Creek. Tight lines and fish on. Come hook into the action with them. Hit them up at thebaitshackak.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located on 4th Avenue across from the old 4th Avenue Theater. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. From reindeer dogs to bomb euros, they've got you covered. Anchortown Dogs, your local gourmet hot dog and sausage cart.
Crude Magazine, Alaska-based media outlet using the last frontier as a springboard to discover larger truths about the cultures of our great state. Read more at crudemag.com.
Lawn Pro AK, Alaska's year-round professional property maintenance team. Services include snow and ice management, weekly lawn care, and more. Get your free estimate today at lawnproak.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off of Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted Alaskan-made colonial ciders. They also have a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Stop by today and taste an award-winning cider.
Lady with a Plan, your own Alaska event planner. From scouting the perfect location to planning the tiniest details, specializing in event management and production for intimate social gatherings. Find Lady with a Plan on Instagram. Yeah. Oh no, those guys, the guys from the 80s, they weren't going to change. Yeah.
Come on, Nick.
Kind of always shows if you follow or not.
Serious.
We got him. Now we know the truth.
Notification.
Like, okay, here we go. Oh, you found a remote, huh? Was that under your chair?
Yeah, should I keep this one?
Yeah, you can. It's a little souvenir for the studio.
Massager.
Get the thing. Get it moving up. Well, welcome to Alaska Wild Project, episode 52. One whole year.
5-2.
Yeah. 52.
52.
Right on.
I think
made the yearly.
51.
Congratulations to you guys.
Yeah, bring that up a little closer. We got to get the full go on you.
Would you like it here?
Let me see.
There we go.
Let me see here.
You know how to talk in a mic, man.
Microphone check. My microphone check. Yeah, but ours
Yeah.
have these huge,
like foam.
the foam condom thing.
Yeah.
This is way more professional. I like this.
Yeah. Just careful with that, like beautifully manicured beard. It'll like suck it right in there.
Great.
That is a nice beard, though.
Thank you.
You got like the two-tone thing going on. It almost looks like by design, but
Hey. It is by it's by design. It's not my design.
well, yeah, true. And you notice how I said two-tone? I didn't say colors. I didn't say anything.
That was very professional of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I appreciate it. I'm trying to get this though. You've got this.
Where the neck
girth?
kind of, yeah. Well, I need to trim it up though.
I've been
man.
called
I'm
a few things on Alaska's Worst Drivers on Facebook, and it wasn't anything nice about my beard. So
You know what? I dyed my beard one time, and my wife hated it. But do they do
little
the
dark.
orange beard? Do
of
they
course
have?
they do, but there's even a better trick than that, because if you want to get your beard straight, you've got to buy tools for your beard.
Yeah.
I was just
Special
introduced.
combs and
I was introduced to that this year. Yeah.
oh.
You remember how cool it was in high school when the girls had the flat iron and they were like,
Yeah.
dude, that was like a thing. You're like, dang, she looks hot.
It still is like a thing.
Flat iron for beards, man, but it's got the comb in it.
Oh, really?
Really?
$40.
Whoa. Yeah, be up at the shop soon.
Otherwise, this thing would be over on your mic. It'd be on yours.
Well, I don't flat iron for your beard.
Dude, I'm telling you, I thought this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard about. And then I was in the store and I saw it and I bought it. And I'm in love. And then I've recommended it to other people who have been like, man, every time me and my brother go out, he always does. He's so stoked on his beard comb.
First note
okay.
on the show.
Yep.
Now, do you sell those at
Flat
Alaska
iron.
Mine?
I know, right? No, I haven't figured out a way to put that into the product mix yet. But I
Right next to
probably
the
should.
salts, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Get
Shameless.
yourself-
You can pick that thing right up at Fred Meyer, man, tonight on your way home. You'll be happy.
We should have a Beardo award at the meat party this year.
Oh, a Beardo award.
Yeah, I think we need it. That'd be a good one. Best beard.
That's a good idea.
It's the real
I
beard.
think I feel like Ira would like just own the league in that.
Edwards.
Oh,
yeah.
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 He's got an epic beard.
Yeah, he
Big
does.
time. I actually got a few texts from him this week. He found out that we were moving the date on the party because he I think you guys shared some.
Did you send him the
Exchange.
flyer or the invite?
No, I'll send it to him. I'll send it to him. And he already broke down like what he's gonna bring.
Oh, sweet. What was it?
I'm not gonna say.
Damn it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go
Oh,
there.
he
I'm gonna leave it
actually
a
sent
surprise.
me like a list of options like 2 months ago. He's like, what do you think they would like?
Oh, to
already
bring?
A, B, C, you know, and it was all listed out like how it's going to be stuff.
Did we have E, all of the above?
Oh, man, it looked good.
I guess he got pretty sick when he was down in Texas. So, but he's recovered and he went skiing last week, so he's feeling better. But I'm sure the beard is as luscious as ever.
Well, there's
He
some
looks
other good
good.
Beardos out there.
Yeah, Beardos.
Beardos.
When again?
You never
hold on.
heard that?
Hold on, man. I like had a solid beard going for like 3 years, and first time ever hearing about a flat iron for it, and
Well, you
the
know,
term
the
Beardos.
Well,
right?
the history of the Beardo.
What the
is-
hell, man? My mind is like,
So the history goes back to the Homer hockey tournament, right? When Double Shovel was playing their arch nemesis every year, the Northwest Flyers, and these are
arch nemesis. That's
yeah,
pretty
totally. So anyway, we were playing against these guys, and we knew a couple of them, but not all of them. And there's these 3 dudes that had these mega beards, and they took things real serious.
Can't forget them.
Yeah, so they were named the Beardos. We actually called them all the Beardos around town for like 5 or 6 years.
Did they know
And-
that?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Very much
they took
aware.
pride
Very
in it.
much aware. Well, the big brother and the pride all came down to like the middle and young brother weren't sure how they should play it out, but the big brother stood up and made it kind of like, okay, we're gonna own this. It's funny. Luckily, he did that because it was me against all 3 of them, and in a referee room.
The other one
On the ice rink in front of a keg. Yeah, it wouldn't have gone well. But so those are the Petersons.
The Peters.
Oh, Peter.
The Peters, sorry, yeah.
Oh,
The
really?
Beardos.
Peters, sorry, yeah.
Oh,
they're
okay.
they're Beardos, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so now they all
Steve's-
play on our hockey team and shit, right?
We combine forces now.
Yeah, so
No
the
longer the
Peters are the
nemesis?
Beardos. But yeah,
If you can't beat them, join them.
yeah, they were, I like, it was almost like a magical time.
Did
was a
they,
magical
did they
time.
keep the beards though? Do they still have the beards?
I think
2 of the 3.
Did they
dude.
quit?
Yeah,
2 of the 3.
Steve
2 of the
does
3.
for sure.
One quitter out of 3. That's
Yeah.
not bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
Joe's shaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's clean.
Yeah.
He's not like clean. He's like still got like.
no, he's
Yeah,
clean.
yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's like
Oh,
baby
that's right.
face.
Yeah,
with
he
them
is.
last
Yeah,
night.
you're
Yeah,
right.
he's
Yeah, no,
shaved up.
he's way clean.
Yeah.
He's
And
looking
they're
good.
one of those guys that
Scott
can.
still has this beard.
Yeah, and they can grow a beard like overnight.
Oh yeah.
Like,
These guys have. Yeah, they're Beardos for the reasons. Yeah. They're top competition against Ira for sure.
That's actually a really good one. We'll do that. Yeah.
I'll just be a judge.
You could grow something out, man. Get those whiskers out.
just all neck. Just all neck.
You guys are so funny, man.
I actually had a beard that year too. That was the only year I really grew it out all the way.
Yeah. I remember
That's
that.
funny.
I was showing I was showing a picture on our sheep hunt.
Of my
They were
beard.
like, "Oh, who's the grandpa?" I'm like, "Whoa, man! Like, he's only like a year and a half older than me, man."
He's trying to get more respect out there. It's like, oh, I didn't know 60-year-olds went sheep hunting. Like,
Yeah, that's right, motherfuckers. Well, now that I know that they got the flat iron, I'm gonna have to grow it back. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
I was
Intel
starting to
on
lose. I was starting to lose a little faith. Like I just couldn't keep it groomed enough. I was like, man, this thing is kind of rowdy. And
That's where I'm at right now. It's just like crazy.
Well, my day job, I try to keep we try to look presentable for the most part. I mean, it's
Look
still
like a pro.
power sports industry, but like you get like, we sell boats to some folks that have some coin and they expect a little level of whatever. And so sometimes I look at that thing and I'm like, wow, you need to do something with that. So when I heard about that, I'm like, this is a way I can now justify keeping the beard.
yeah.
I like it.
The voice you guys are hearing, I don't think we even introduced.
We hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, we didn't even get there. So for episode 52, we have Nick Olzenak from Alaska Mining and Diving Supply. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. It's super stoked to have you on. And he's a subscriber to lettuce and kale and grown locally.
You got into the local greens, and he's a hot dog connoisseur,
Dude,
as well.
let's not talk about that because I've been telling this guy that I've been eating healthy.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, it's only for 3 months out of the year. So
Thank God. Seriously. But I am that guy that sees a hot dog stand, especially yours, man. I'm like, oh, I got to stop. It doesn't matter if I've already had lunch with somebody. Like, I'm
scarf one down.
Stop right there in the fire lane and just be quick.
That's right. Yeah. Pull into the courthouse.
He knows what I want.
Turn the flashers on.
But I am, and it's been funny because I really haven't known you, but just barely a short period of time, and you've introduced me to some cool stuff. To include that kale is not horrible. I'm saying it right here, right now. I'm telling you, kale's not horrible. It's amazing.
I like kale chips, man. You guys ever make kale chips?
Oh yeah,
We talked about that too, and I had kale on moose tenderloin last night.
Oh, nice.
With some Kodiak scallops. Anyway, and then you guys, like, just funny, like, oh yeah, and then 10 years ago and talking about the past, like, it's just this is kind of a fun reunion / new relationship, new friendships. It's fun.
A little small world.
You.
Yeah, and you come across a lot of people too. I mean, all day, every day, all year.
My problem is I see people, I'm like, hey, you,
Hey, bro.
and they're like, Nick Olzenak, we went to this place on this day at this time, and you did this, and I'm like, what was it? You know? Okay, we're good.
Okay, I kind of remember that.
Yeah. Are you sure? You got to remember, the best man at my wedding owns a bar, right? Like,
dude, I went to your wedding. On Mirror Lake.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
Yeah. And now that you say that, I remember.
I forgot about that. But yes,
me too.
I think that's where I actually first officially met you. And then
I was actually the most sober one at the lake that night.
Yeah, I was kind of rowdy. It was pretty cool. You guys cruising around in the paddle boat with the cigars, or the what do you call that?
Pedal boat. Yeah.
Pedal.
Oh, you said paddle, but you meant
It's like
pedal.
pedal
boat. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. It was pretty cool, man. That was a good time.
Thanks.
It was a good time.
We had a good
Beautiful
time.
day too. Mm-hmm. What was really funny was all the gals getting ready for the wedding in the motorhome.
Yep.
Just getting hammed.
That wasn't it. No,
That wasn't them?
There wasn't. No.
Well, the bride was good, but
No one drinks at weddings.
Yeah, I was just like, walk by that thing. I'm like, Jesus, it's all
No, my wife
rocking
and I are a balance, man. It's like I drink all of the booze and she doesn't touch it.
She's DD.
She'll if my wife drinks a glass of champagne, she's on the floor face down for days, hungover, so she just doesn't drink.
Bring me toast.
But I make sure I take.
Yeah, your best man was like a stocky dude. What was
Mikey?
it? Mikey. Yeah.
Pio Mike.
Is he still?
Mike Ward.
Yeah.
He was working with you at Mining Diamond. Is he still there?
No.
Oh.
Mikey's been downtown at the Pio for.
Oh, okay.
Man, since I met him, he was a doorman when I met him at the Pio, and now him and Dave own that place. They bought it from them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's never worked for you over at Mining and Diving.
Well, no, but he's always he was like, speaking to the bros, like that dude is like, he's a loyal, he's a super loyal friend, and he's a loyal customer. Like I sold him Polaris when I worked selling Polarises, and he came over when I was started selling SkiDoos, and ever since he always buys from us, and he always flies the colors. And yeah, you'd have thought that he worked for us.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
he was
that's
cheap.
why.
He's cheap labor,
right?
Just make him a deal on a snowmobile, and he's
bono?
flying the colors. Yep.
Yeah,
Dude, Mike still plays
badass.
soccer, man.
Oh, he
That's
does?
crazy, dude.
yeah.
That dude,
He does so much shit, dude.
and he
He's-
runs.
He runs. He's so athletic.
Yeah.
You would not expect that, man. But he
Bulky
can go. He's still winning state championships. Like he probably has like 8 at least under his belt.
Really?
I mean, when I stopped playing like 10 years ago with him, we had won a few. And like every year, he's just like boom, boom, boom,
Still
boom,
on
boom.
it.
Still on it,
What a
dude.
badass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's his
way
thing.
cool.
Yeah, he's on it.
He took a while to convert over to cider over at the Pio, but he did it, and I think he's happy about that.
And he's gonna give me a lot of grief on when he sees this and he sees me drinking that, because I helped it take a long time for him to switch over. You know what I mean? I did. I was a hater forever, and then I started to realize I'm like I started to see the light, and it really was because of this product. I was like, there was just no other ones that really
No,
hit me, and
everything's different.
there was a summer. What's the summer one? What's the one?
Grapefruit lavender.
He knows, like you already know my sales history. Matt hits the shelf like Olzenak's coming.
Yeah.
Bring the lavender to the front.
I noticed the back left of part of your boat was kind of tilting down, and then I saw all the cases.
That's
in there.
exactly what it is.
Pallet stack.
Dude, that is 100% my summertime boat jam.
Oh, and it's good.
the
Oh, man.
lavender?
I need
Man.
to make that again.
I got to mix that. I could do one like true flavored lavender, and I got to mix it with something else.
Oh, you mix it? I don't know if I would like that.
But just with like a regular, like
Oh,
a hop.
extra dry or
Yeah,
It
extra
makes
dry or
a
something.
really good gin, and
Ooh, I bet.
really good. Not that you need any more
No,
alcohol
no.
content in that drink, but it makes it.
Yeah. I could turn things real squirrely.
You get real silly.
That I don't do that one until the anchor is on the bottom, and I've checked the anchor drag alarm, and everything's good, and then.
Yeah, you're spending the night, the whole nine.
Oh yeah, yeah. I ain't going anywhere after that one.
And you smell like a flower after you drink it. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Very floral.
versus all the IPA that I drink. My wife hates that. There's a little after scent to that one. You know, you pay for
Oh,
about
yeah.
12 hours later.
Yeah.
Seeping out your pores.
You haven't tried that as a marketing. You should think about that.
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't?
You ever want to chase away these people? Drink this.
Yeah.
Smell
If you
real
want less friends, drink this. If you want to expand your crew, have a double shot.
good. Yeah. Have you ever wanted an excuse to stay inside all day?
Exactly.
One eye open.
You said when you dropped the, that made me curious. Like when you drop the anchor and you can start drinking on the boat, is that like officially if a trooper comes out there, you can't get a DUI on that? Because I know like if you're in the truck or something and you're parked and the keys aren't with you and they're whatever and you're spending the night in your car or something, they can't give it to you. So I'm curious if there's like a fine line there somewhere with that, or if anyone even knows.
Oh, there's rules to that, but it's also a lot different. Like a state trooper that were to pull you over on the highway versus a state trooper or a wildlife trooper or a Coast Guard that's going to board your boat. If you're safely on the hook and your engine's not running and you're clearly there, it'd be kind of like more like an RV situation. I suppose if you were caught sitting at the helm with the engine running and your hands on the wheel and a fifth in your, that's probably different.
Yeah, might get in trouble.
Yeah, I think that. But that's like a whole other show, right? Like drinking and boating is no joke. Everybody drinks and boats, and by everybody I mean even people that don't drink a boat. They drink a boat, right? And it's a big,
Have
it's a
a
big
glass
safety
of
thing.
wine on the anchor up, or
That's why I have a boat that goes 8 knots, because I got a lot more time to make bad decisions. So instead of going, what are you doing? 40 knots,
something like that.
Yeah, I can't think that fast. I need to throttle way back.
34 or something. Yeah,
I'm gonna run into that rock in 2.5 hours, so I'm gonna finish this cocktail. Then we're gonna change course. But it is something that people should know. I mean, like Mikey, I spent a ton of time with Mikey at Big Lake doing, wakeboarding and stuff when I was younger before I owned a boat. And, that's a big deal. It's that's a totally different setting. Like the the law enforcement goes to the lake looking for you drinking, like they're after you drinking. In the
they have
ocean,
a task force for it.
Yeah, in the ocean, it's different. I mean, like they're, at least in Prince William Sound, where I spend all of my time, like they're not out there looking for you drinking. They're definitely doing their checks and they're making sure everything's good. But they're like, do you got your safety equipment? Do you have all the right documentation? What's going, do your kids have life jackets on if they're supposed to? Like, I love seeing that. I always felt like when I went to the lake, I was getting harassed.
Yeah,
but I
they were trying to get
deserved it probably. Right.
Yeah.
How many times have you been boarded by someone?
When we were talking about the show, right? Like we're talking about all the connections between, I've been at Alaska Mining and Diving for almost 20 years. And when I started, I was just slanging snowmobiles. I was the sled guy. I mean, I was selling tons of snow machines, hundreds of snow machines myself. And that progressed into, the older I got. And I grew up in Minnesota, so I was a boater, and I always wanted to be on the ocean. And my family commercial fished out of Cordova, so there's a million pieces to the puzzle. But then I started doing more boat sales, and then I started doing boat commissioning, and boat sea trials. And so sea trial is like, you buy a boat from me, from Alaska Mining and Diving. We do the whole build there. You pick all the stuff. We install it all. I take the boat out without you and make sure everything's all good, right? And if it's all good, then after it's all good, we bring it back. We clean the boat, fix anything that needs to be fixed, get it all detailed. Then I go and I say, hey, where do you want to do your boats? Where do you want your commissioning to be? And you'll say Seward, or you'll say Valdez, or most of the time it's Whittier because it's close and it's easy. And so I'd go to Whittier all the time. I mean, there was a time when we were sea trialing, 20, 30, 40, 50 boats a year. It was all the time. And so I spent
doing it every other day.
Of time. Yeah, always there. And then on top of that, because of what we do with boats and the way that our business operates, is like, if you buy a new boat from me and you go out to launch on a Thursday and you've got a problem, I'm not like, oh yeah, man, just bring it back. We'll take care of you. And you're like, no, I'm at the dock with my family. Yeah. And this thing's dead. I'm getting in the truck and I'm driving down there and I'm getting you boating. That's what we do. But all those years I had never been boarded by the Coast Guard. Like it just never happened. And it was, I don't know, a catch all the weather right, or there's not a lot of traffic on Prince William Sound for law enforcement anyway, even on holiday, whatever. But I did get boarded with an entire family on board at one time. And he did have firearms on the boat. And it was actually the day I learned that the inflatable PFD doesn't count as an adult in PFD unless it's on your person. So if you're, if you were in a situation where you were supposed to be in an adult PFD, or if you like the four of us were boating and all we had on the boat was the inflatable PFD, it doesn't count. You got to go get the right stuff. You're getting a ticket. It only counts if you're wearing it. So if we all had them on and you got boarded, boom, it checks the box, right? Yeah. But so all firearms have to get declared. Who's been driving? Has anybody been drinking? And it's a really awesome process. When it's the Coast Guard, the coasties that come over on those on the Coast Guard boats, and they do, like, their situation is dialed. They take it very seriously. Yeah, and they come out ready for not people like us. They come out ready for like the worst, right?
Yeah,
like
drug traffickers.
There's dudes on deck. They've got their rifles. Yeah, they're asking all the right questions. It's a really cool process, but it's not. I can imagine if you were doing some stuff. I know people that have been in those situations, and you don't want to be caught in that situation at all. No. We sell all. We make sure every single boat goes in the water with all the right gear, right? Like, and that day we did have the right stuff on board, because we always we have a ditch bag or a throw bag. Not really a ditch bag, because a ditch bag is if you're boating, but when we do our commission, we have a throw bag, and it has just the Coast Guard required stuff in it. And so we had what we needed, but the customer had just bought all the stuff. So he was like, yeah, here's my life jackets. And they're like, no, that ain't it. And that just surprised me. I was like, hey, we've got it right here. We had enough life jackets for everybody. And then kids don't count unless if they're outside the cabin on the back deck, theirs don't count unless it's on them. Right. That's another rule, And so our family is like, we're super strict with that. If my kid doesn't have his life jacket on, I duct tape him to the helm or something.
That's right. Same here, man. Yep. Not allowed out that back door.
Yep. 100%.
Life jacket.
You said commission the boat. Like, what does that mean? Like, make sure everything's working with the guy?
Well, I do sea trial as everything's working. Okay. So that's like, and I do that without the customers because it's boats. And if you've been around boats or owned boats or whatever, like almost never is it perfect the first time out, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you buy a boat of that magnitude, you buy something that's 25 or plus feet, you're spending a lot of money. And a lot of folks that we've sold to in Alaska, like, they've never owned a boat that size. The boat lines that we carry seem to attract, like, let's get a boat, honey. We have no experience. We should totally buy a boat. And that is the best looking boat. It's got the best reviews and everybody loves it. And it's got all the comforts. It's all the things that we all want. Like, can I go shoot deer? Yes. Can I go fishing? Yes. Can I go fast? Yes. Can I turn on a dime and throw everybody out of the back of the boat? Yes. It doesn't go over 50 miles an hour. Yes. Boxes are checked. And then the wife goes, what's it like inside? Oh, it's got super nice seats, hard wood, place to sleep, heater. check.
Yep.
So we get a lot of new boat owners, right? And so the experience is so much better when I take the boat out and go through it. And then when I'm delivering it, so that's the sea trial. Then when I'm delivering it too, because everybody asks for different stuff. Everything's fully custom. You want a Garmin, you want a Lowrance, you want a whatever, different screen, touch screen, not touch screen, different types of transducers, all that stuff. So it gives me the opportunity to learn the boat and you're paying for commissioning. It's not like it's a line item. Nobody ever says no to it.
Okay.
We charge for that. But I've never had somebody say no.
Like, no, I'll do it myself. Don't worry about that.
No, because they want to know. Like it's not like buying a car, right? Where like, yeah, the key goes there and stuff. Okay, I'll see you. The boat, the batteries are in a different place. The bilge pumps are in a different place. I go over all that stuff. Like people, I talk to so many people, and I spend a ton of time in Whittier, of course, like we talked about, and I talk to so many people that bought other brand boats, and that I help a lot, and they don't know where their bilge pump is, like. Or where the second one is. They don't know where the spare battery is. They don't know how to combine. And I'm like, what did they do when you bought the boat? Well, they took our money, and it was a good experience. We're not upset or anything, but they didn't understand that it takes a lot of effort. It consumes a ton of my time to do, but we have super loyal customers that buy boat after boat after boat and tell their friends to buy a boat because they get the experience. People that have been boating forever, they don't need that. They don't need that.
Yeah.
So that's commissioning.
Got it.
Yeah, I like it. I mean,
it's a really hard part of my job.
Well, and then
it seems like the most fun. It's like, here's your brand new boat.
I got to make sure this thing works.
On it.
Yeah, 2 days a week. One day I'm out doing the sea trial, and then on the Friday whenever the customer wants, then I'm out on the water again, and
Yeah, and it seems like to get familiarized with a boat. Not that you're not familiar with the products you're selling anyway, but to familiarize yourself with that particular boat, after you hung the Evinrudes on and you got them trimmed and you figured out all the sweet spots, then you can confidently show the consumer exactly how all this stuff works and how this boat reacts. Because even though they're the same boats, same models, same engines, doesn't it always seem like something's got to get tweaked a little bit?
Every time it's different.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Again, people that know boating versus people that don't know boating, every boat similarly propped. Like, propping isn't scientific, it's totally like an art, because if you equipped your boat differently with a generator and a fridge and stuff, that's like 2 extra adults on board, and so the pitch of your prop is different, right? That's like the size of your tire. How much traction are you going to get in the water? And so when we do a sea trial, not only do we make sure it's propped right, and what we offer, we'll deliver it propped the way you've told me you're going to use the boat, and within X number of time, and we're flexible with that because I don't know when you're going to get out and what you're going to do. If it's not propped right, I'll reprop it for you for free. Like, that's just part of the deal. Like, I'm not going to send you out there with the wrong stuff. But also when we sea trial, then I can say, hey, man, at this RPM with this much weight at 25% trim, it's 2.3 miles per gallon, and that's like Toyota Prius in a 30-foot boat. So I can give them that information by having used that boat, and every boat's a little bit different. One boat might get 2.3 and one might like 1.9. That's it. No matter what I do to prop it, whether, engine height, how much spray on the motors. There's just so many things that cannot go right out of the gate that if we don't do that, then the customer experience goes totally downhill.
Have you had something go seriously wrong and you got to bring like a backup guy or something?
Did you tell him what I was telling you in the hall? Yeah. So
yeah.
it's a close conversation because the boat you own was...
Well, my buddy Eric owns, yeah.
Okay, well, that boat, well, whatever, that circumstance. Yeah. That boat was bought after this happened, right? So we still bought a Kingfisher, and he didn't buy from me, but we also will do a test drive, right? Like, if I've got a boat that I can put in the water and put somebody on, we'll take them on a test drive. And so with customers serious about purchasing a boat, we'll qualify the customer and we'll take them out on the water. And I'll take them to Big Lake. Like, you're not going to go take your Kingfisher to Big Lake. So I'll take you to Whittier or wherever we're going. And
out in the big water.
The forecast was like 15 and 3, and I know better, right? It's 15 and 3 really means 25 and 4, but I'm like, it's going to probably be 15 and 3, won't go far. Plus it's a 30, it's going to be fine. It'll handle the water. And this was a guy that you guys know And he'd like, I don't want to test drive a boat when it's flat calm. That's not what I'm going to be out doing, right? So anyway, we went out and sea trialed the boat, and I just had happened to have on board with me a SkiDoo rep. BRP, a guy from BRP was here because we were doing SkiDoo Spring Fever at the time, so kind of similar, but it was April. And we get out there, and this boat that we had every bell and whistle. Like it had 10-year advanced stuff from when we built it. That had like everything that you were going to get in years down the road. So it had power steering, electronic power steering, and joystick control that everybody loves now, right? So Optimus on it. And I'd been having intermittent issues with steering, but I'm like, it's been fine. It's not going to be a big deal today. So I lost steering with the boat completely turned hard to starboard. So there's really no way to control that with the throttles when the boat, if it would have died somewhere in the middle of there, I could have figured out. I've had to get boats limped home without steering from 50 miles out before. It's not a problem. This I couldn't fix, and now it's blowing 25, and it's like 25 and 5 at the head of the bay from the east, and so it's blowing in Whittier, blowing me towards the beach, and I'm only maybe a half mile from the beach.
So you're closing in quick.
Yeah, so anchor goes out at whatever, I had 600 feet of anchor open chain on board, but I couldn't put that much out because that would have swung me into the rocks, right? So I put out about 250 or 260 feet, and it caught, but then I'm stuck. Now I'm sitting there.
Yeah, swung.
And I don't know what to do, so I called Lazy Otter, and the owners later, they're great people. And Mike was like, yeah, I can get out there to you. It's going to be kind of nasty. And I'm like, well, I don't have a choice. There's nobody else you can call. Cito wasn't here at the time, and you can't call the harbor. You can't call you can't call any harbor and have them come out in 5-foot seas and help you. Anyway, I get out. He gets over to me, and we're getting figured out how to get the boat towed. And I'm on the bow of the boat, and it's blowing. It is cold, and
April Burr.
we've got a line over the rail tied off to a cleat to try to get the slack off the anchor so I can pull the anchor in. Well, the anchor winch dies at the moment that I'm trying to get, and I can't get it, so I can't get it off the hook. I'm so cold at this point, and the customer's inside the boat with his friend. He's inside the cabin, right? Warm, heat's on, lights are going. And I'm like, I'm going to die out here. I'm going to fall off this boat. And I go to grab my knife and cut the line because I'm like, that anchor's going to go bye-bye. We're going to cut the line. And I can't use my hands.
Oh, they're just froze up.
Completely numb. I'm like, the knife is like I just can't. So I like bang on the window, and I'm like, Wilson, man, you got to come help me. He comes flying out, and we cut the line, and my leg is like under the line between because of course you're not thinking everything's in a hurry and that their boats are smashing together. So I'm trying to keep the boats apart. This is a really expensive boat.
Yeah.
Anyway, they got us towed back into the harbor, and customer thanked me for the experience, and I was like, I found a really good deal on a boat down in Florida Southeast. I can't pass up on it. I'm like, oh no. But to this day, he's a really awesome guy, and we've been, I wouldn't call us friends, but definitely acquaintances ever since, and like I have no hard feelings. But like that was probably because he didn't own the boat. I was trying to sell him that boat, and I should have never went out. But I asked him, I was like, hey, it's gonna be a little choppy, and said, no, man, it's gonna be perfect. Probably never.
Wasn't that one a 30-footer?
That was a 30, yeah.
Yeah, it was a 30. That was like the biggest one at the time,
At the time, yeah, 500 horsepower, 54-mile-an-hour boat that got like 2.5 miles per gallon, which ironically is available on consignment for sale right now.
Oh, wow.
No kidding.
Right?
Yeah. the owner that ended up buying put a bunch of time on it. Not a lot of time, but a bunch of time. The kids all went fishing and stuff, and now they're all off at college, and so he's looking for something different. So those problems are all problems of the past too, but that's what comes with boating, Like there's things that happens with boats that you fix them and you move on,
Yeah.
How big is Kingfisher going now?
34.
34
with 900 horsepower on a triple bracket. So you can go trip threes, or you can go twin 350s. Yeah.
Wow.
Knocking on 60 miles an hour. What's that?
What's the bow?
What's the bow?
The width?
Oh, 10.5 on that. They're all under 11.
Yeah.
Tunnel width is 11
Mm-hmm.
max, so we work with them to keep everything.
Yeah.
Even the big boys are just under that, and the 34-footer at just under 11 is a big beamy boat. The 34-footer's got a V berth in the front, plus different than the 28s and 30s. It's got a berth underneath the dinette, so it'll sleep 6.
Wow.
Yeah, it's come a long way.
Sounds like a huge
But in boat technology, like and we should do this show in like 2 years because boat technology is about to blow everybody's mind. Like there's some stuff coming that is just so cool.
Like what?
Well, first of all, design, like aluminum boats, right? If you're an aluminum guy or a fiberglass guy and you look at the differences, fiberglass has all kinds of cool different stuff you can do in the molds, right? But everything that gets done in an aluminum boat has to get cut and welded and finished, whatever. Aluminum boat builders are figuring out how to do that stuff now, though. Like, I mean, like super tight, much tighter tolerances, like, wastebasket, like, could you imagine on the back deck of a Kingfisher if it had like a pull-out wastebasket that's just for garbage?
Sweet.
What's always hanging around on the back deck? A stupid Cars bag,
loose garbage.
Like beer bottles are falling out of
bucket.
it. And shit. Yeah. So this like little things like that, or like you walk in the back door and the full glass back door, and then the window next to the back door. You walk up to the dash and you hit the button, it goes,
Drops down.
Yeah, so then the whole back of the boat is open to the salon where like maybe your wife is in there and she does want to be a part of it, but you're out fishing out back with your son or the boys, and she's in there and not, I don't want to be outside. It's not the greatest. Well, you turn the furnace on, down the tinted smoke glass, and now all the windows are like, flush on the side. The diamond sea glaze metal framed old school window. That's all going to be things of the past, man. It's just it's super cool. And obviously outboard technology is just like, it's racing like crazy right now.
It is. And, when you were mentioning all that, I remember I was going to share a story and how it pertains to boat and aluminum design and just saltwater aluminum boats in general. I remember I was on a flight one time from Fairbanks or Homer, Kenai or Homer on a work trip. And I had a Fish Alaska, I had a Northwest Fisherman magazine or something I was reading. And they had an article about how the saltwater industry and aluminum boats was about to blow up. And this was like maybe 2005, 2006, I think. Whereas like North River, Woolridge, Wildcraft, all these like, first really generation like jet boat, inboard jet boat manufacturers were shifting gears to offshore.
Yep.
And would you say that with your transition from being a snowmobile slanger, would you say that's kind of when it started for you, was maybe in that time frame where, the aluminum boat industry just started to shift heavily towards the offshore market?
First, I don't know how you have such a good memory into when things like that happen.
It always stuck with me because I was always like, because they were like, 15 years from now it's going to look like this. 20 years from now it's going to look like this, and it has been to the T, man.
Because that's
to
about
the T.
Yeah, that's about right, and the timing would be about right. Like in late 2000s, I would have been at Mining and Diving since the Rev was released in 04, and so we're knocking on 2010, and all those boat manufacturers, and Kingfisher's no different. Kingfisher was Jetcraft, and Jetcraft was fast.
I meant to say Jetcraft.
Fast river boats, Snake River, Idaho, like all that stuff, right? Like a billion miles
shallows.
an hour. Yeah. Yep. And then there was a shift, right? Like the fiberglass boat manufacturers, they owned that. I mean, if you can't walk a single dock in any harbor and not see 50 bayliners that were built between 1980 and 1998. Yeah. You just can't. You don't even know they're bayliners in some sense. It's like, that's a cool looking boat. And then somebody's like, no, that's a garbage bayliner. But they're not. Bayliner made boats up to 57 feet at one time, right? Yep. But it was all glass, everything. And then that's exactly what happened is when we started building, and I wasn't involved in this process, the founder of our company, Dudley Benish, and since they founded the company in 1976, and Dan Martin was our boat manager at the time, they went to Kingfisher and Jetcraft, and they weren't making any cabin cruisers, but they were like, we're selling Ospreys and Sea Sports, and the interiors of those boats were super nice.
Yeah, right? Your boat shows had a lot of glass boats back in the day.
It did. And
big boat shows and stuff.
But then as the price of these boats starts to go up, now and this is really what happened. The woman becomes a big part of the conversation. She's like, I'm not buying that aluminum boat with that aluminum cabinet and that aluminum counter and those hard plastic seats. So we went to Kingfisher and pioneered it. Like they literally, Dudley and Danny pioneered turning the interior of an aluminum boat into the interior of a fiberglass boat.
Right? Luxury feel.
Yeah, I mean, we were the first to do hardwood and all the nice vinyl. You don't see a lot of leather because it doesn't handle the saltwater, but the vinyls, the wood doors, the nice seats, the air, like we pioneered all that stuff. Yeah. And quickly everybody was like, yeah, that's legit. Because, especially in the Pacific Northwest, a heavy gauge aluminum offshore boat, that's what people, they're just It's less maintenance. There's a lot of things that it is, right, that people really love. And so that's exactly around the time that happened. And then since then, there's really there's two different types of people that love glass boats, right? I own a glass boat. This is my second large glass boat that we own. I've owned a lot of other glass boats. And for my type of boating, I love a glass boat because I'm 8.5 knots. I like
You're cruising.
Slow. Yeah. But if I was into fishing, like my kid likes to fish, but we're like, you want to fish for 15 minutes? And if we don't catch anything, let's go do something else. Yeah. But if you're into fishing or you're into going fast or you're a weekend warrior and you don't have a lot of time, you can't, my wife doesn't work. She homeschools the kids. I've been at the company a long time. I've got plenty of time I can take off. So I can take a 4-day weekend. I can take a 3-day weekend. I can go on a Wednesday, whatever. If you're like, man, I'm at that point in my life, I'm hustling, but I really want to get out. You get out like a Kingfisher, and that's why they sell so well. You get out on a Friday night, it's sunny until 2 a.m.
Yep.
You're to the fishing grounds, and you're not even going to sleep. You're fishing all weekend, and then you're flying back. They're perfect for that. So you get the best of both worlds, right?
It's a great point.
And
exactly what
where we're at now is that I didn't even think we would talk about that tonight, but like, it's going to go next level.
Another level.
If you just spend a little bit of time snooping around at what they're like go to look at what the boat builders in New Zealand are doing, it's mind-boggling. You would never even assume it's an aluminum boat. Look at even Coastal Craft. Those are built in the Pacific Northwest. They're a very high-end aluminum, but it's an aluminum boat that looks like a high-performance sports car.
Like Stabby Craft, kind of almost.
Stabby Craft is. They're still a little more utilitarian, doing nice stuff in the cabin, but there's a couple of other boat brands out there that are making their way to the U.S. that are built in New Zealand that are. I'll give you the names of them later. I don't sell them, so I don't want to drop their names yet.
No, that's fine. Yeah,
No free ads.
But it just tells you. It just tells you that there's so much coming, right?
Yeah.
The innovation. People are demanding more, and they're not going to buy unless they get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's creating a lot of. Variety in the market, right? It kind of used to just be like you bought a Bayliner and Harborcraft and Jetcraft had a boat, and Woolrich got in the game. They were 70s and 80s. They were badass inboard jet boats, and then Jack's got a beautiful. What's the model of yours? Is it a ocean cruiser or what do they call that thing?
It's a Woolrich Pilot House Super Sport.
That's right, the Super Sport, and they all shifted toward this like new. It was like a paradigm shift in the whole market. And now there's all these like different brands. And I know there's a lot of the Alaskan made ones.
Yeah. There's another new Alaska brand coming out soon too.
There are a lot of utility built and custom welders. And then today there's a lot more like local welders that are, designing and building their own boats too. So I dig it, man. I think it's cool. It kind of just used to be kind of pigeonholed to just a couple of brands. And now, there's a lot of options. And obviously the Kingfisher, man, it's hard to beat a Kingfisher.
It is,
Those
but there is a lot of I'm never the guy that tells somebody there's not multiple boats to look at,
Sure.
But
you love boats. You love boats. I mean, it doesn't matter.
And the way I feel about it is it's the same I feel about with snowmobiles. Is I feel like if as long as we get somebody into boating. Now we got them into boating. That's a good start. They got friends that they're going to get into boating too. That's how our business partners in the salt business, they went out boating with us. And like, we even had a conversation at dinner last week and Dory was like, I can't believe you guys let us come on your boat with you. Like, I would never do that. And we're like, what do you mean? It's this tight space. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people on a boat, 2 full families, all of our dogs and stuff. They own a boat now.
Yeah.
That's how you do that, right? So I always be like,
get them.
Yes, I want you to buy what we sell when it comes to the store. And that's what we do at the store. But I just firmly believe, same with snowmobile. If people come in like, I don't have that model anymore, and you really don't, this is not going to work for you. You're going to be so bummed on this super wide track 24-inch turbo trying to go ice fishing with your kids or something, whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have what you here's some other options that you might have, right? I feel like you're so much better off giving the customer the right information than you are just selling it to them because they need to have it. And so for sure, I think Kingfishers are some of the sexiest boats on the water when it comes to heavy gauge aluminum boats. And they listen to us when we ask for changes in innovation or whatever. And now they're owned by this company and it's funny you talk about like these up and coming companies and all this stuff. And like Kingfisher is now owned by a different buying group, and they own like 7 brands, and they own brands now that are so big they're building like several 100-foot boats in the Pacific Northwest, right? Like they're buying up brands like Weldcraft is owned by the same parent company that Kingfisher is owned by, as an example. And then some of the other brands, they just like, you're like, wow, that looks a lot like that boat. And you're like, well, yeah, that's that guy's brother. They got in a fight.
Yeah.
And he's the better welder.
He builds his own boat.
But it's cool because it totally drives innovation, because the one guy's holding him back and then the other guy's like, fine, I'm done then. If you're not going to listen to me, I'm not going to go along with it. And that's like the story of how boat building comes along. Wooldridge has been a pioneer in like all kinds of breakthroughs in aluminum offshore boating. And they were known for crazy outboard jet boats in the rivers, you know, like that whole thing is just cool.
I really appreciated Wooldridge, all the kind of issues that I've ever had. I mean, I called down there and I talked to one of the brothers.
Yep.
It's insane. And they're like, they know my boat. They know which one. They know when they built it. They know all the well, you know, we didn't like this about it, so we did these other things. And here's some things you can do to your boat to modify it to look like the future ones.
That's important.
It's been pretty rad.
Yeah. Let's take a quick second here and give a shout out to some of the sponsors.
Barney Sports Chalet, supplying hunters with the best hand-selected gear since 1963. Barney specializes in supplying hunters with the absolute best Alaskan-proven gear on the market for some of nature's most rugged and demanding terrain. Whether you're headed to the remote volcanic islands of the Alaska Peninsula in search of a brown bear, or the shale-infested glacial valleys of the Brooks Range for Dall sheep, it is critical you choose the right gear for your dream hunt. Don't miss Barney's exclusive brand, Frontier Gear of Alaska, tested from the high mountains of Tajikistan to the extreme conditions of Alaska. These products were designed for high performance and durability. Frontier Gear was derived from decades of experience hunting big game in Alaska. Paired with other top brands, it provides you the absolute best gear selection anywhere in the world. Stop in at Barney Sports Chalet in Anchorage on Northern Lights, or check out their custom website and reference tool at barneysports.com.
Arbor Digital, based in Anchorage, Alaska, is your go-to wealth management company. Arbor Digital is at the forefront of digital assets and cryptocurrencies. If you've been looking to invest your hard-earned money or just want to learn more about crypto, blockchain technology, or digital investments, give their website, acminc.com, a visit. What's great about Arbor is they provide a low-cost, transparent, research-based investment strategy for digital assets and traditional investments as well. acminc.com is your first step in putting your money to work. Let one of Arbor's investment professionals walk you through your options for financial growth and security. Start investing for the future today at acminc.com. Arbor Digital, your Alaskan digital asset company. Total Truck and Alaska Overlander, Alaska's premier supplier for custom automotive accessories and overlanding products, providing all-inclusive rental vehicles and trailers custom outfitted to explore the Alaskan backcountry with a unique and convenient traveling experience. At Total Truck, you can find brands such as ARE, RSI Smart Caps, Goose Gear, iCamper, Roam, Frontrunner, Rigid Lights, and everything you need to outfit your SUV or your truck. Alaska Overlander provides rentals of 4x4 vehicles and expedition trailers custom modified for Alaskan adventures and outfitted with rooftop tents, fridges, and all the camping and cooking gear you need to get out and start exploring. Visit them at alaskaoverlander.com.
What it is, but yeah, we're pretty lucky as far as that goes.
It's good.
Yeah, so on the break there, I had asked Nick about a sailing experience, which I thought was from Pacific Northwest, like Oregon, Washington, or British Columbia area. But you guys bought a boat in Los Angeles.
Hold on.
Oh, that was a crispy one, dude.
I missed it again. Will there be another opportunity?
There'll be one more
actually,
opportunity.
you can do it anytime, actually. Yeah,
just whatever, and just stop.
Caribou called. Yeah, I mean, you can
Caribou
just interrupt.
literally just run into the room.
Do they?
Yeah.
That's probably been my
magical.
problem the last couple of years then.
Why, you haven't shot any caribou?
Yep.
You didn't take a call or what?
Listen, I've been some of those shows I've listened to recently because I'm like, I'm missing something this last couple of years, but really I'm just like the fishing, there's a lot of luck involved in that.
Oh, no doubt.
There's some technique, which I have all of, clearly, that just doesn't work on some of these animals who are super stubborn. But this call I have not tried.
Yeah, we found out officially through Chad that caribou calls do work.
Oh, I listened to that exact session. I'm like, Chad's a friend of mine, and he was the customer until he jumped ship to the brand X.
He did.
But I currently have a caribou tag still through the end of March.
Oh,
I don't know that I'm going to get out, and I have to because he can't draw a tag and not go. But I just don't know when. But I'm going to try. The tags, the calls don't work very good in the wintertime, but
Yeah, you're gonna have to drink it quick,
dude.
That's not a problem.
Dude, the tags come out on Friday.
Next,
month.
yeah.
On
Ooh,
Friday, yeah.
man, are we gonna be high-fiving next week?
Yeah.
Dude,
Man, let's
I hope
hope
so. That'll be super rad if we all can high five.
It's like, to me, it feels like Christmas. You're either gonna get like a really cool present under the tree or coal, man. It's like one or the other.
I just get boxers.
Which are excellent sometimes.
Just get the
I
tier-
need them
the
by
tier
then too,
one.
man. I need it.
But yeah, so you that was what, like maybe in the last in the last 10 years?
Yeah, it was 10-ish years. I would have to look in my memories, I'd have to have Siri help me figure that out.
And I don't know, like, originally how I caught wind of that. Maybe it was Candace that mentioned that you guys had purchased a boat, and or you know what? I think Bree had texted her, "Oh, we're going and we're sailing our boat back," and I was like, "Damn, man, that's gangster. That's a hell of a trip of a lifetime." I thought.
What was the route?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, give us a little insight on that whole thing and that experience. First off, what kind of boat did you buy? What time of year was it? And then go from there.
Well, I don't remember what time of year it was, but I know what happened.
Okay.
And
Was it cloudy?
it was cloudy,
A little windy.
sometimes.
The swell was on.
It was a fun trip because the trip actually took like almost 8 months. Like there was a lot of flying back and forth and getting stuck places and breaking stuff and being scared out of my mind. And so we had, like, we've always had boats. Like I had boats on Big Lake and like I've always had boats, but at this time we didn't have a boat. My mom lived in Cordova at the time and she's a commercial fisherman, and they had this bow picker and they're like, we're done. Like, we're just over it. Fishing was bad and they're getting older and we're done. So they couldn't get the permit and the boat sold together. So they broke it apart, got the permit sold. And she got this boat. I don't know what to do with it. I'm like, how much you want for it? She tells me, I think it was 25 grand. She's like, 25 grand. It's like 32-foot fibercraft, a beautiful bow picker, single 454 big block or whatever, and immaculately maintained. I'm like, I'm going to pull a reel off that. I'm going to put a crane. I'm going to put 2 SkiDoos on it. My family, when I grow a family, because I didn't have a kid then. So this was maybe 11, 12 years ago. And I'm like, that's going to be our Prince William Sound cruiser. For $25,000, of course I'm going to do that. And I'd been around boats now at Mining and Diving for a while and I'd been like, okay, we're going to get back into the saltwater thing. Like, that's something I'm going to do. When I moved to Alaska when I was 10, we grew up on like everybody, a 16-foot Zodiac in a 40-horse tiller motor, run around southeast shooting stuff and killing stuff and almost dying, right? Like, put it into a box and ship it down there and go do that. So I was like, well, that's not how I'm going to raise my family because they'll probably all die. So that's what I'm going to do. So I go over there with my now father-in-law and now brother-in-law, and we go over to Cordova to get the boat. It's in storage in the Orca the cannery over there. And if you know anything about Cordova politics or whatever, it's like horrible, or was horrible back then. I couldn't get the boat out. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to, you're going to have to wait 2 days before I can get the boat out.
It was dry docked up
inside.
Yeah. Okay.
And so like, okay, fine. We'll get some maintenance done. We'll get ready to go. I flew them over there. We fly over there to get the boat. And it's like the first night and like 11 o'clock at night, it's just bang, bang, bang on the bottom of the boat. I'm still drinking. My now father-in-law is asleep. Me and my brother-in-law now are up at the table and just whatever, we're in this warehouse in a boat, but we're on a boat,
Yeah.
And we're drinking, and this guy's like, hey, I heard this boat's for sale, and I'm like, no, man, I just bought it, just bought it, taking it home, I'm going to raise my family. And he's like, that's bullshit. It's like, everything's for sale. And this is his Texas accent because I can't do Texas, but he's like, everything's for sale, And I'm like, yeah, man, everything's for sale. He's like, pick a number. And I'm like, it's not for sale. It's not for sale. So I'm like, give me a second. And I think I called my mom at that point in time because I just bought the boat from her. I paid her 25 grand for the boat. And I don't think I called her yet, actually. So now that it's coming to me, I think I'm outside. He's down, and I'm like, $40,000. Fine. 5 a.m. So you at the cafe, I'll write you a check. I'm like, fuck. Are you serious? What am I supposed to do? I'm like, hold on a second. I call my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I got this problem. I know I just paid you for the boat, but this guy wants to give me like almost double what I paid you for it. Take the money, 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 sell the boat, take the money. Didn't care about what I wanted to do or whatever. She's just like, oh my God, that's amazing, So I'm like, okay, sorry. So I take the money, and I give my mom $5 grand from that money because I felt bad. I'm like, but I was a little bit of it was mine because obviously I was
made
there.
It happen,
yeah. So. Anyway, and he's like, all right, so we meet him, and he gives me some earnest money, and he's going to transfer some money. We verify all that stuff. And I was like, well, what do we do now? I'll put you on the ferry. You guys can go back to Whittier and go home. And I'm like, okay. So I literally had this huge dream. I'm going to put this boat in Prince William Sound. I'm going to raise a family on it. I'm going to do all this adventuring. And that's the only way at the time. That's the only way I could afford to do it. 25 grand? Shit, yeah. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
And
tried and true, proven sound boat anyway.
Absolutely,
right?
right? Like that's perfect for me. And so I'm driving back on the ferry, and I talked to my now wife, but we did it together. You know, we were partners then, and it was like, yeah, we'll just wait. You know, that's a pretty. You know, we just made some pretty quick money. Let's put that in the bank, and we'll do boating later. Under 6 months later, I'm flying to LA to sea trial 1979 Universal Marine twin diesel Lytton trawler with my wife, and we found one. And at the time, this is like now I know the time from now because it was right after the crash. This is like 2009, and so down there stuff is just cheap.
Oh, you got a screaming deal.
And I remember finding some boats, and I remember talking to Dudley, and at my last night I was like, man, I don't know what to do. I was like, it's a really good deal. Like these boats, this boat was they wanted 169,000 for the boat, way out of my price range. And then it was like 119,000, and then it was like 109,000 all in like 10 days. I'm like, what's going on with this boat? We're going down to look at it. We get down, there's 99,000, and so we go out, we sea trial the boat, get a little bit of the backstory, which I feel sort of bad about now, but you know, sickness in the family, so they never could get to the boat from wherever they lived, in like in Nevada or something. And the boat's immaculate, 36-foot Lytton trawler, like the good old Taiwanese heavy Ford Lehman motors in it. It just had that smell and all that wood, and we just fell in love with it. And I offered him 35, and he called the guy. He's like, all right, when can you take it?
Wow.
Shit, now we have to buy it.
From 170 grand to 35,000.
And at the time, a few years ago, that would have probably been the market value of the boat. But all these boats like that were in really good shape were holding a high value. You can now buy a 36-foot tri-cabin or whatever for 40 grand, 50 grand all day long.
All the time, yeah. Especially with all the aluminum boats, yeah.
And then it was like, okay, so now it's in LA. And at the time, I was traveling once a month for work easily to the West Coast. We were always having dealer meetings, and I was doing a lot of training as Dudley was getting ready to exit the business, and we were becoming employee-owned company. So I was down there a lot. So I'd do a meeting, and I would go to LA, and I would do some work, and I'd replace this, put a new electronics in it, and GPS and all this stuff. And then we just made a plan, and I'd fly some friends down like that had boating experience, and we would do a leg. And then we would do a leg, and like that's how I experienced Southern California. I had lived in California for a little bit, in Northern California when I was little, but I like San Luis Obispo, Morro Bay, all those places that are like kind of collegey towns.
Yeah.
Like we ended up stuck in Morro Bay for 10 days in foul weather, and I had to go to the Morro Bay Yacht Club and get a mooring ball. And right across from Morro Bay is this like giant sand dune area. We played golf every day for like a week. It was like the coolest experience. But we ran into tons of weather. We ran into mechanical issues. So I burned up every air mile I had flying myself and my friends back and forth to help, because I'd never did any of the legs by myself. Finally, it gets to be close to wintertime, and I'm like, I've got the boat to Half Moon Bay, right, which is just a little bit south of San Francisco Bay Area, and I don't have any more time left. Like the business is getting really busy. I've got obligations, and I'm like, I called my buddy Doug Phillips from Cordova, and I'm like, hey man, when you get done the fishing season, you want to bring my boat the rest of the way up for me? He got it to Seattle, and then it just got stuck.
Oh, Mike Phillips' boy, Doug?
I don't know Doug's dad's name.
Mike passed away years ago in Valdez.
Could be.
Yeah, Dougie wrestler.
No, I don't think so.
He's a big time jet skier. He just won a championship down in that's my cousin. Yeah, that's my cousin Phil from Valdez. It's on his mom's side. That's his cousin Doug, man. Yeah.
Full
Doug,
connection.
man. Yeah.
So he brought my boat from Morro Bay to Seattle, and he had to go in like the Columbia Bar and do all that other crazy shit. And whenever I'd ask him how it was going or how it went, he'd be like, we're just not going to talk about it.
Oh,
like that, like bad. Like it was horrible, right? So it gets to Seattle, and it sat there for a year. I put it in a really nice marina, Shill Show. My wife and I went down several times, did this cruise of San Juans, went to Bell Harbor, right downtown Seattle, and did the nightlife and then stayed on the boat. Because it was there, right?
Yeah.
Like we'll just do that.
That'd be fun.
It was epic. I went down, spent the winter there, so went down, did the Christmas boat light parade deal stuff,
Yeah.
Wow.
And then ended up, I just literally ran out of time with work, and things got to be, had to cradle the boat. I flew down by myself, cradled the boat up, put it on a ship, and picked my brother at the time worked for Carlisle. And so we went down with a semi, picked it up and brought it up to Last Mining and Diving, put it on the hard, stripped all the paint off the bottom of the boat, did the bottom, did the keel, did the side. We rolled and tipped. You ever done that? Old school, like roll the paint on and then tip it to look like it got done at in a paint booth. Roll and tip the whole boat.
Hours and hours of work.
So much time, and then we put it on a truck, took it to Seward, put it in the water, brought it to Whittier. That's that boat.
Okay, so you didn't sail it.
We had to skip the whole.
chain
The whole dream was to do the inside passage. Like that's why we started it, and then had to skip the whole thing.
Just not enough time, and
Now we're going to do it in reverse because now I'm getting so old. I'm going to have to retire and go south with my
and then just stay down there.
Yep. But Chris and
Just
Dory
keep on moving on down to Mexico.
our Christmas, our business partners and our friends. We spent a lot of time boating together their first summer, and in Whittier. And they helped us. Like we just ended up. There's more tragic stories to boat ownership, but we ended up having to gut the entire interior of the cabin of the boat after one winter of total destruction. And my good friend Dave, we redid all the woodwork, did all the stuff. Chris and Dory helped us paint and stain, just countless nights of doing all this work. And we get the boat like just about ready. We're like, this is going to be 10 more years on this boat, no problem. Like it's got lots of life left in it. It's really safe, big boat for the kids. And then this other boat pops up for sale that I've always admired, and it's like 2 slips down. I'm like, I have to have that boat. And if you are a boat owner and you know anything like that, you're going to sell everything. You're going to get that boat. Like you're going to sell drugs. It doesn't matter. You're going to get that boat. And so we did. So now I've got 2 boats in the Whittier Harbor, right? One in the private side leasing a slip, and then one in transient moorage on the other side. And we got super blessed and found a buyer just outside of Valdez in Copper Center that bought the other boat, and it lives in Valdez now. And we like to go visit the boat. Like it's like family.
Go see it.
Yeah. But now we have a newer, less maintenance, which is good because I have a 10-year-old, a 2-year-old, and about to be infant. That 1979 naturally aspirated twin diesel old trawler was
Lots of work.
Oh man. And there's other things.
Yeah.
Like,
what do you have now?
I have we have an Elbin 36 Express
Sweet.
with my first cat. So I like.
Oh yeah, diesel pusher.
I finally can now have
wear a cat hat.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I have one cat
the
hat.
dream.
Yeah.
Just sits on the dash right
How
next
wide
to
is
the-
it?
It's this one's 12.9, the other one was like 13.5.
Okay.
But it's got a 450 horse cat single in it, just like a school bus on steroids.
Yeah.
And they call it a school bus when you fire it up. Like the exhaust is like 8-inch.
Yeah.
Exhaust,
big
and it
black poof
sounds like it sounds like a big old school bus. But when the turbo, you're pushing a 26,000 pound boat with a 450 horsepower single diesel. If you like that sort of thing,
Yeah.
I think I could go to sleep on that boat.
My kids sleep like a baby in that boat.
And it's got a shower and the whole nine, right? Just
Yeah. For us, it was like, and you can get into boat. Like, that's the funny thing is, like, I sell boats that are expensive. And it's not that, my boat's not expensive, but it's less money. It's a lot more affordable for a family doesn't have a lot of money to spend on a boat. And we didn't have a lot of money to spend on a boat at the time. And this was a tough boat for us to get into too, but it was like, we needed to have a couple of bedrooms, right? Needed to have a master and then a bunk room for the kids. And it needed to have a head with a stand-up shower. It needed to have lots of storage. And we needed to have a covered back deck. And we had already started the salt company at the time, so I knew I needed to be able to get water on and off the boat. And so this boat did that quite a bit better than the other boat and more reliably, and it would take sort of the wear and tear. So it was like the company had nothing to do with the purchase of the boat or any support. But it's the way I justified in my mind, right? I go, this business is going to work. We've got to buy this boat. It's the only way. It's the only way.
It's the only way, honey.
It's the only way. And we're stoked. Just like any other boat, it's got things we don't like about it, but it's got a lot of things we love about it. And the thing I love the most, we keep our boat in the water year round. So we boat in Prince William Sound all year. I was just out on the water on Saturday. It was epic. It was 40 degrees. Sun was out. Flat, calm. You could see your face from 2 miles away. But it was so good. You can't do that if you don't do that.
Yeah. And the beauty of that is that the summer is you got that boats running back and forth all week long, guys doing the hardcore fishing. There's probably nobody out there.
No,
there's probably the tugs and the Linden guys running back and forth, but
even in the winter or just even in the summer when you're
right now, like if you're going out boating, there ain't nobody. Ain't no one out there.
There was nobody on the water on Saturday but me and my 10-year-old, my 2-year-old, and that was it.
That's cool.
I love that,
awesome.
man.
What do you do with snow load and stuff? Are you driving down? You got the guys down there helping? Or?
Well, I'm pretty unfortunate that I have this other business that I've mentioned a few times I'm down there a lot for that right now because when Chris and Dory come on the show, can I say that?
Yeah.
They're going to talk about some like news that we have to share, but that's a lot of work and that's like a lot of after hours, like, and I know you do it, you know, you let me into your world a little bit last week and like, there's a lot of after hours. So I'm down there a lot. Yeah. And so I have the ability to shovel. Like I am my emergency contact, but I've got some really good people in town that when it gets bad, like it's been a couple times this year when it's like, I can't get down there tonight. Can you please shovel? And it's done, you know, but
man, that's cool.
You have to, because that's something you just can't let go. Because when it's too late, it's already too late. You aren't shoveling your way out of that situation. Yeah. You know, if you got scupper drains that are clogged and a bilge pump that's down, it's game over so fast. And your boat is ruined. I mean, there is salvage, but your boat's ruined.
Yeah, that boat next to the Lesters went down. Was it last year? Oh, man, that was so sad.
We were there when they were lifting it. My kiddo and I went down to the dock and watched them, the lazy otter lifting it with the airbags, and it's sad. The owner was right there, you know, and he knew exactly what happened. Yeah, you know, it's a bummer, but yeah, you have to. It's fun, but there's a ton of work that comes with it because, and especially in like these, you know, Valdez and Whittier especially, it can snow literally. Chris and I went down one night because it snowed all day, and we were smart. We loaded our sleds up and brought all our riding gear, and we were going to ride. We got onto the back of my boat, the old boat, and it was nipple deep, no kidding, from that day. God. And we shoveled all that and tired as all could be, and then we rode POW in town for 2 or 3 hours. So there's some benefits to that, but you have to catch it in time because it snows and then it almost always rains right after in Whittier. So you got to catch it before, because if you shovel it while it's dry, it's not that bad. But when that moisture hits the snow, and it does become, and the wind blows, so it can build up on one side, cause the boat to list, and then she goes over.
Can you run us down with the history of the store and your involvement from like when it first started to when you got involved and where you see the future going?
Yeah, it's been, I'm super blessed to have landed at Alaska Mining and Diving, right? Like all these other things that I've touched, and as anybody knows that's in business with anything, you're so intimately involved with it. All your friends all come from that environment, you know? And I was just kind of passing through, and I bought my first ever brand new snowmobile as an adult at that store in 1999. And so I was familiar with the store, and that was a place I did all my shopping stuff. And they had a sales job opening, and it was in the 2000s, like in the right around 03, probably, roundabout, right before the Rev snowmobile came out. And that like just changed everything, and like all the snowmobile movies and stuff all revolved around the Rev snowmobile, and we sold tons of those sleds. We sponsored Jay Quinlan, Heath Frisbee, Ashley Chaffin, Kyle Armbruster. We were so involved in when that happened, and that's when, I mean, we were selling, I can't even pick a number, but we were selling more snowmobiles than you could even ever imagine. The place was so busy, and so I was blessed to get a job. The business was started in 1976 as just a mining and equipment store, right? Like two friends in high school, and Dudley and a couple of his brothers were also, you know, his brothers were involved, and like it was just this place out of a garage back in the day in the 70s for prospecting. And then the briefest version I can give you is prospecting led to needing to be on the water to do dredging. That led to like probably the need for an inflatable boat. So they got inflatable boats, and then an inflatable boat, you got to have a motor to get an inflatable boat around. So you got the motors, and the next thing you know, this is boating. And the next thing you know, there's some aluminum boats. And the next thing you know, there's some fiberglass boats, and there's SkiDoo snowmobiles. And, you know, you fast forward 45 plus years. And now today last time I was an employee owned company, which we're in our 11th year of employee ownership. And what that means in like a super brief summary is when Dudley and Steve, the original founders, decided they wanted to retire, you got choices when you're going to get out of a business. You either just shut it down, sell it for the assets and leave, or whatever you got for inventory, or you could sell it, right? Selling a power sports business is not the easiest thing to do, or you can make it employee owned. And they had just discovered this at that time, that employee ownership was like this thing, and that's the road that they went down. And it was a rough transition. Like the first 5 or 6 years of employee ownership didn't do anything different than running a regular business. It was super hard work. And at that, that was right as you're coming out of, we were doing like, in terms of revenue, like $24 million a year in revenue down to like 10.
Ouch.
When all those people, tons of people got laid off, lots of people lost their jobs. It was a tough time back then. And slowly we've grown the business back to where it is today, and we're knocking on that number again. We, as an employee-owned company, we bought an Anchorage Suzuki Arctic Cat a year ago last month.
Okay.
Opened Alaska Motorsports and Equipment, and we're selling tractors and other types of things. But being an employee-owned company is like, we're now at this, like, we have this really crazy critical mass where I was telling you before the show, like, it's so fun to be able to, it's not like it's yours, right? And there's always this perception that since it's yours, that boat in the water, all the money's going there, you're going to Tahiti, you're doing this, and you're just doing it for you, and why should I be here? It's hard to get employees to work, especially now. Like, it's never been so challenging. Mm-hmm. We have still the same challenges other businesses have, but when we're paying out tens of thousands of dollars annually to the employee owners because the profits have been so good. Like, and it doesn't matter what job you have. It's not, everybody gets, there are still different bonuses for rewards, let's say for different, you did that and that made this much money and you get a reward on that, but everybody blanket got the same bonuses. It doesn't matter what you do. If you sweep, we don't have a sweeper, but if you sweep, you answer the phones, or you sell more snowmobiles than me, everybody gets the same thing because you're an employee owner, and it all goes to the employees. There's no benefit. And from a financial perspective, like, cash flow is very good because we have 45 plus years of really good business managers helping us run the business. And so things are really good, and you don't really do yourself any good by stockpiling cash around unless you've got a plan to do something with it, which we did. We bought another business, and we probably sometime around September, we're going to be opening a third store. So there's some need for, some capital investment there. Yeah. Wow. We're super excited about it. And that's, I can say more about it because we've talked about it on our show, but that's really like mining and equipment related. So that's the heritage side of the business.
Okay.
Because we've really become a power sports and marine powerhouse.
Yeah.
And then the mining department's like this redheaded stepchild that, like,
it's got a little spot in the corner over here.
But it's got a huge potential. So we're going to do something with that too. But it all goes back to the people. And like, now that we're 11 years into employee ownership, when you look at, in the way that employee ownership, you're an employee owner, but you own the shares. You don't own the company, you own the shares. And they're distributed to you fairly every year, and there's an evaluation done just one time a year. And so when the evaluation is done, then you look at your statement again, and you see that our share values have been increasing pretty significantly over the past several years because of our performance and
business is good
because of the hard work of the people. It isn't because it's just falling in your lap.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that are in these situations in power sports where there's a lot of business coming, but they get frustrated, they can't get the product, there's all these challenges, and they're closing their doors because they can't handle it, right? They can't get enough help. We have again some of those same challenges, but because we're so successful, they're getting rewarded monetarily, right? So this is kind of my employment pitch.
Okay.
Right? If you're looking for a really fun place to work that you literally put it in your pocket, if you make more money selling that, it literally goes into your pocket. Like, that's how it works.
Yeah, you got skin in the game.
You do have skin in the game, and you've got input. We listen, we make sure that we get the input of everybody, and
there's engagement too from
the
guy sweeping the floors or taking out trash. Like,
there is, and especially when at the end of the day, when like fiscal year just ended for 2021, and we're looking ahead and forecasting, and you're saying, okay, and then we're going to start doing the evaluations now. So then the evaluation, you don't get the evaluation of how you performed last year in the stock price until like August or September. It's crazy how long it takes, but it's a privately done thing, and it's totally federally regulated. It isn't like there's nobody holding the purse strings on this, right? Like, it's a total federally run program, and there's a lot of consequences if you don't run it right. There's fiduciary responsibilities and all kinds of crazy stuff that is way above my pay grade, that thank God there are people around to handle that. But you get to go around, and you get to go, you could show people that was your wages that you earned and took home, and then you earn tens of thousands of dollars more than that in your account value that's changed or increased because you're getting shares allocated to you, and the share value is increasing. So, and there's no contribution. You cannot buy more shares.
Just working there.
It's just working there and being an employee owner, and it takes several years to be vested. There's a really awesome plan that it has to make sure that everybody, its whole intention is long-term employment, right? And to grow the team and to get a really good culture built. And so, anyway, that's fast forwarding a lot versus what it was in the past. But like, I literally just started working for Dudley Benish. I just worked for him. I sell lots of snowmobiles because I love snow machining. Yeah. And then I started selling boats, started loving boats more, started being on the water more. And now we've got younger kids that are those, AJ would be a good example. He's the sled guy, man. Like when somebody calls me for a sled, I'm like, man, you got to talk to AJ. I have other responsibilities that I have now, So, and that it gives us the ability to that gets into all kinds of crazy business conversations you can have, but you can work in your business as much as you want, but you're not going to go anywhere really. Like if you got to work on it, you got to get people to do those jobs that are really good at it, better than you. And you realize that you're not that guy anymore. Step back and focus on other things. And that's what's allowed us to have the manpower to, purchase and acquire another dealership, totally rebrand it, and kill it in the first year. It made money in its first year, which is really hard to do.
Unheard of, yeah.
And while we're still running that first year business, we're already planning on the third store and other opportunities that we might have out there. So, and meanwhile, all the while still looking outside the box at whatever other, opportunities that are out there. So it's been, for me, it's a huge blessing for me and for my family having landed at that place, and then having the owners at the time decide, well, we're going to go employee owned, and we're also going to retire. It's perfect timing at my age at the time. I didn't want to work really necessarily as just a salesperson my whole life. I knew that was the start to something, but I knew I wanted more than that. And every Olzenak I've ever known has always climbed to the top and then started stuff. And I felt like I had an obligation to, I don't know, and that just came from working your ass off, right? People are always like, well, how do I do what you're doing? Just work your ass off.
Yeah. That's
just work your ass off.
Hard work.
Yeah. That's all. If you just keep working your ass off, you're going to go you may not go up here, but somebody else, if wherever you're at, they don't see you going up, somebody else is going to be like, dude, you're working your ass off. You want a job?
Yeah. Come over here.
Yeah.
Come over to double shovel.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife taught me a term that I love, and I use it all the time, and people probably get tired of me saying it, but sweat equity. Just getting after it and workhorse and earning your way. I
worked 7 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day in retail and sales, right? That's
just grinding.
People don't do that. Yeah. And I loved it, man. I've loved it. And I did it at a time when it wasn't employee owned and I wasn't making that much money. I just loved it. I knew that eventually something was going to come of it. And now we are this, in the power sports world, the Alaska Mining Diamond is the number one SkiDoo dealer in North America. Largest. Not number one because we won this award or we did this cool thing, but because we sell the shit out of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? We know how to retail, we know our market, we know our customers, and we know how to take care of them, like we talked about a little bit before the show, right? If you're not taking care of your customers, you're not going to have that story to tell. Yeah. That success story to tell. So
that always amazes me when I hear that, because while we are a very popular, strong power sport state and market, we're still very small in population. So you think about, Seattle, Portland, Idaho, some of these other states, Northwest, whatever the region of states is. Sorry, I don't know exactly what all the states are off the top of my head, but I think about
there's Washington 50 of them.
Well, Northwest,
Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Northern California, those areas.
And I know that, obviously, snowmobiling is going to be a little more popular up here because our season's longer. But just in terms of per capita and population, it blows me away that little dealership on Commercial Drive is the biggest power sports dealership in the Northwest.
Yeah, and if you were at our store today. And so when this airs, they'll have some time will have gone by. But we talked about before the show, if you were at our store today, you'd be like, holy shit, how in the world are you guys doing this? The phones never stopped ringing today, not for 1 second. And when I left to get here, there's dudes that were still answering the phone. We've been closed for almost an hour taking orders for next year because the new SkiDoos were just released. And because we've built the loyalty, and we've built the. I mean, we do pretty damn good on our reviews. I had a guy in the other day, and I've believed in this for my 20 years there. I had a guy in the other day that had a catastrophic failure at 16 miles on a snowmobile, right? He's got 17 grand invested. He's trying to get his cabin and shit kit out to his place before the snow melts. And he has a catastrophic failure. And he's on fire when he comes in the door, right? He's like, you're lucky I left my wife at home, because this would have been even harder and you would have been, like, it would have been bad. And it's just so easy to look at a guy and go, you know what? In my whole entire career here, I've never not worked one of these situations out ever in your favor, ever. Doesn't even matter the cost. Always works out because there's always a way. Mm-hmm. And I felt just so confident, and like, he was like, oh, and he just calmed down. I'm like, you don't have to sit here and yell and scream at me at all. We're going to figure this out. You're absolutely right. That should never have happened. Yep. Even if you are at fault, even if it's still a brand new thing you bought from us that has almost no miles on it, we're going to take care of you, man. Like, that's what we're here for. Yep. And that's why when the new programs come out, our phones ring off the hook, because people know those stories. It's not the only story that we have, and so, and it's not to say we haven't pissed people off before, and, we've had customer interactions that didn't go well. You cannot make everybody happy. We are all humans interacting, and that shit's going to happen. But it's just really fun to be able to know that we work at a company that's so powerful that it doesn't matter if I have to write him a check and give him another one. That's fine.
Yeah, work it out.
We've got that kind of financial strength because we also, and that's not because we also talk about integrity. Speaking of spring fever, is right now the market is tough, right? People are overpaying for things all over the place. Mm-hmm. And there's dealerships in all industries that are totally guilty of taking advantage of you and me and all your friends for things they're buying. And you're guilty of paying too much because you have the fear you're not going to get the thing.
Yeah.
And we found out just today that one of the dealers that we've always had a problem with underselling and not holding margin is selling for like $1,000, $2,000 over what the manufacturer suggests the price should be. And now there's some gray area there because there's the MSRP, there's destination freight, there's setup. Right now on everything you buy anywhere, there's a commodity surcharge. We're charging just the fees that are whatever's coming in, right? And these other dealers are gouging people for several $1,000s more, and not a single person in the room, as we're talking about it, is even interested in discussing what we should raise our price to. There's no reason. We're going to continue to do what we're doing, which is to
still move units.
Yeah.
Don't got to worry about it.
Yeah.
Be fair to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, because they're going to remember that, when they're going to be like, well, I bought it from Mining and Diamond, but they ripped me off.
That's
they're
right.
not going to come back.
I know what the MSRP was.
Yeah. So like there's the ability to make more money, but it's a long game, 45 years. that company, there'll be somebody on somebody's podcast or whatever we're doing in 50 years talking about how, I remember when Nick Olzenak went on the Last Wild project. 50 years later, whatever.
The hologram cast.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll still be me. I'll be dead and I'll still be given that. I'll still be on it. But like, you can't have that kind of success by doing those kind of things or whatever. So,
well, I want to get into a subject on inflation of, the units and snow checks. But before we started recording, tell us a little bit about the release of this year's program. The 2023 snow check program just came out, 24 hours ago?
Not even. Yeah.
Not even. Yeah. And you had mentioned you had already, you couldn't even tell a number, I don't think.
I'll say it. I would say this. By the time I left the store today, we pre-booked over 100 sleds in less than a day. And what I would tell you, if you're watching or listening now, and while this airs, because this, as I understand, this comes out a little later in the month, it's perfect timing. If you're watching or listening now and you're like, what are they talking about? I thought we had till the end of March. I thought snow check goes, spring fever, SkiDoo goes to the end of March. March 31st is the end of that. And it used to be that it did, as long as you came into the store and you ordered your sled for next year within the program parameters, you're going to get a snowmobile.
Yeah.
Right? Snow check, couple hundred, whatever.
Yeah. Get it by October,
Yeah, you get it late, you get it in the fall. Yes, yeah. It's all good. Yeah. If you are if it's around the end of February right now and you haven't come in and put your money down on a spring fever sled, you should literally put this down, put it on pause, and go straight to the store, order your sled, or call 277-1741, order it, do it, text it, do whatever you do to communicate with your guy, and do it. Because what will happen, and this is not a scare tactic or an anything tactic.
It's reality here.
The reality is last year, they didn't know we were going to have such a run on snowmobiles. So every sled we pre-sold, SkiDoo stood behind us, and they honored our certificates, didn't cancel a single sled. This year, they're going to do the same thing up to this number, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever this number is.
There's a cap.
That's it. Once you hit that number, we're turning it off. So you can't go over. We don't have to, because they just can't produce the product. And what's crazy is we just had the best year of snowmobile sales in 15 years last year, easily. We're still delivering sleds. We had a record January, record in the 45 years, record almost 5 times the sales. February is going to be similar. What's crazy is the release that we saw is like probably the most epic product release that I've seen in 15 years. Also, new models, crap loads of new horsepower. By now you've heard about it. All the turbo summits all have 180 horsepower right out of the box, factory warranty, 15 more than last year.
Walk on the
15 pounds less weight. The 4-stroke turbo R's are 30 more horsepower. All this stuff with factory warranty. Brand new chassis, brand new gauges, brand new rear suspensions, brand new tracks, brand new. All in a time when sales are going so good, you're like, why would a manufacturer invest that much money in innovation when the sales are falling in your lap anyway? And again, we're so blessed to be a BRP dealer, seriously, because they have been amazing with the supply chain. They've worked really hard to make sure that the products kept coming. And again, we didn't have a single sled canceled, not one. Not only did we not have sled canceled, we were able to go and get more sleds when we needed them really bad. So, it's a crazy spring fever year. We won't be able to even snow check as many sleds as we snow checked last year, because that number that I just told you is less than the number of certificates we got last year. Which
so you already know it's gonna cap out, and you're only gonna be able to go so many units.
And that does drive some sales, just the fear of it not happening. Yeah, of course, but I'm not saying it to scare people. I do it on our little AM radio show. I'm just telling you the truth. Right?
This is what's coming down the pipe.
And if you come and ask me in 2 months if there's a sled available, I'll be like, you weren't listening. I'm just here to tell you what I know. And I mean, I've been doing it a long time. I know what's going to happen. It's all going to sell out, every single one of them. And we're going to be in the same situation. This problem will unfortunately correct itself with inflation and commodity prices and probably some crazy things that are going to happen to the economy, while production is also increasing, right? So there's going to be, and that leaves the dealerships in a predicament that they need to be careful they manage, right? Like you like, okay, just get everything. And then things starts to slow down. Then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, look at all those crates back there. Yeah. Nobody wants them. You can't discount them fast enough. And then you start going the other direction. So it's a balancing act that right now everybody's still dancing and singing. And again,
you're on the high still.
We're still on the high. And that's what I mean is and we have all this crazy innovative new product. I mean, like crazy innovative new product. Like I'm freaking excited about the product line.
I can't believe where sleds have gone, man.
It's
First off, that they're almost at 200 horsepower.
Yeah.
Well, turbos, 200 horsepower. And they're almost fucking 20 grand.
No,
they are more. 20 grand. They are 20 plus.
It's 20 grand for a new snowmobile.
The most expensive one I saw in the prices so far is $22,349. But when you peel it back and you're like, holy shit, look at all the stuff it has. I mean, it's like everything. The sled that's that price is literally everything I dreamed about in the 2000s. Like if I could build the perfect factory snowmobile, this would be it. And now it's like
drive, the turbo, this, that.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
I know. I think I bought a 2010 Summit. What did that have been? An XP 146, I think, back then. I think it was like 10.9. And I was like, fuck, man, 10,000 for a snow machine, man. I don't know, because my first brand new sled was 7. And that was like, holy shit, man. They're over 7,000. Like, and I was only like 22 or something like that.
Well, you see the side-by-sides going that way too, right? And
yeah.
That's next level.
I can speak to that. I said earlier that I bought my first brand new snowmobile as an adult. I was like 18 or 19 from Alaska Mining and Diving. It was a 2000 Millennium Edition Summit 700. It was $79.99, came with a free cover. It was the top of
Which
the
doesn't
line.
happen.
No.
You don't get no fucking free
Don't
covers.
ask me for that shit now because you aren't getting it. Covers back then were like $69.
No free belts, no free covers.
Free anything.
Sorry, no. It's
No free anything.
$500.
Ask me after a couple of more double shovels. But that was the top of the line shit. Right? And now it's 18, 19, 700 back
700,
then.
yeah.
Now it's 8, and that sled would have been 95 horsepower. Right? So we're knocking on double the horsepower, less weight. And it's not just those things, the ergonomics and the fit and the finish and all the other little intricacies and technologies across the whole, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And we didn't just get these crazy new awesome Summits. We also have the Lynxes now, and those have 180 horsepower in them. And now the 4-strokes, which I'm an old guy. Like I've converted. I love. I tow a groomer in Whittier. I love grooming trails. It's crazy. I get more satisfaction out of grooming a trail than I ever will going and doing pow turns with my bros.
Side hilling, yeah.
I
Look at
love
those
it, man.
lines,
My
boys.
kid loves it. I can do that with my 10-year-old. My 10-year-old can't go ride Turnigan with me, right? Like, oh yeah, he can. No, he can't. He's just I'm not going to put him in that situation.
Yep.
No, and so, I'm loving that. The 4-strokes are 180 horse. Now there's a new Turbo R 4-stroke is 180 horsepower. So your grandpa's 4-stroke, and I'm saying like this is 180 fucking horsepower.
You can go pull a truck out of the parking lot.
Dude, 2 trucks. The Turbo now is 150 horse. It'll wheelie with 2 people on it for 2 fucking miles. Can you imagine 100
on a grandpa machine.
24 wide? Yeah, I mean, like you roll up to your, guy's got a 1-year-old sled, and he's like, oh, nice wide track, grandpa.
I'm out.
Just stands up.
It's just cool. So you got the top of the line mountain sleds and stuff. And then you've got, SkiDoo's always owned the utility market. And if you've come into the store anytime in the last like 2 months, it's just super wides on wide tracks on super wides on wide tracks, black on black on black. They're all murdered out.
Yeah, they look really technical and cool looking. Yeah.
We have all that. And then I've got 3 kids, so I've been begging for like, man, bring the youth stuff back. So I see 180 horse turbo Summits with 15 less pounds, all this new shit, Lynxes, all these new turbo 4-strokes, all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm satisfied. And they're like, oh, but wait, there's more. Mini Z120, ZR200 for the kids, Summit Neo and MXZ Neo for the 3/4 in-betweeners. I'm like,
oh, no
holy
way.
shit. Yeah, we just got a whole new lineup from start to finish from your 4-year-old to your grandpa in 1 year, right after. And like I said, they're taking every bit of that pandemic cash flow and reinvesting it. That's what you do when you're in business. And BRP, as a huge corporate, that's what they're doing. They're innovating right when they should be sitting on it a little bit, right? We all have snowmobilers have an expectation of X number of years, you better give me a new chassis or I'm out. Well, yeah, but when you're selling every single one that you have anyway, why would you'd hold the bag for a minute? They didn't.
Nope. Wow. They're doing the opposite.
Pretty rad.
And I love that they're bringing the youth sleds back, because that's where it all starts, is getting the kids into it. I mean, yeah, you can wait until your kid's 12 and get them a 340 Jag or a 340 MXZ.
That's funny. That's the first sled I ever rode, is a 340 Super Jag.
That was exactly my first sled. Yeah. With like a 3/4 paddle?
If you're lucky.
Just a belt on the snow.
Flat belt.
Yeah. With no suspension. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's cool that you can get your 6-year-old on a sled.
Well, yeah,
crank the governor down and let him putz around in the backyard.
And the other brands have had them for a few years, and SkiDoo used to be known for family. It was like, that's what, and so I've been pretty passionate about giving them a lot of grief in the last several years. Obviously, a lot of it's driven from having kids, right? That I want on SkiDoos, and I've got this shitty old Mini Z that I can never keep running. I hate it. I want to burn it all the time, but I have to. My kids have to be on something, and so. Like for me, it was like this kind of a passion project, but I'm like, I got to have my kids. I've got another one coming. When are my kids going to ride?
Yeah.
So
you guys got a nice big yard that can putz around, right?
I live in Chugiak. The whole area is my yard.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's why I moved out there.
Yeah.
Don't come by my place though and look at all the snow machine tracks. They're not from us. But it's like, it's so important to get, when you have a family, it's more important. But if you're just in sales, you recognize that there's a ton of products out there in the market and all kinds of things that get people to come to the brand early and young. And for me, I'm just a firm believer, at least with my boys, if daddy's doing it, that's what I want to do. Right. If he's screaming at mom, I'm screaming at mom. If he's riding yellow, I'm riding yellow. If he's flipping his finger off out the window to the guy that's cutting him off, I'm doing it. Like, they do what you do. And so they want what you've got. And if you like, I'm so happy. So I see all this high-end, high-zoot shit that I'm super stoked on because I know that retail is going to be strong and I know that the customers are going to be super happy. And then I'm selfishly totally gratified by seeing the kid stuff. And the funny thing is we don't make jack on the kid stuff. The margins are peanuts.
No, it's about getting the youth in it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a super long-term investment.
Yeah.
And they didn't just give us a 120. They didn't just give us a 200. They didn't just give us a 120 and a 200. They gave us a 120, a 200, and then a 40 and a 55 horse mountain sled. 40 horse and 55 horse mountain sled with a 600 fuel injected electric start reverse in a Gen 4.
Yeah.
So it's just this year's technology that, and this is the greatest part about it. This is where I sound like a salesman when I'm talking on stuff like this. But
I love it.
$67.99.
So affordable.
Yeah.
And that's a great wife and girlfriend machine.
That's the thing is like when the SkiDoo came out with a Spark, watercraft for $15,000. You couldn't buy a jet ski for less than $15,000. Spark comes out $59.99.
Sold the shit out of them, I bet.
Couldn't get enough of them. Still to this day, we sell the shit out of them. They're sold out. It's February, been sold out of watercraft since September, right? And Alaska's the perfect market for that kind of stuff because summers are short, $59.99. I don't have to spend $15,000. I can spend half that.
And you can buy two usually. I mean, if
Totally.
you're talking about
two in a trailer for the price of one.
You can buy two, one for you and your wife, your girlfriend, or if you just want two so you can take a buddy.
And let's be super honest about all those types. Like, look, automobile industry is the same exact thing. Like, we could all go out and buy a $70,000 truck tomorrow and be stoked on it. And then we're like, fuck, I just bought a $70,000 truck that I'm never going to get to use enough, right, or whatever.
To make it worth
or
it,
you could go and buy, like, look, here's the example I would use. Is it called the Ford Magnum? Is that what it's called? I think it's called the Magnum. I might get the name wrong, but Ford just came out the Ford Maverick.
Oh, yeah.
$19,999 pickup truck. 4-wheel drive, bed, 4 doors.
Yeah, like a little Ranger almost.
It ain't the truck that I need to do the job, but I was actually like, if I was going to get a second vehicle, I could go buy a used Kia with front wheel drive for $25,000 with 60,000 miles on it, or I could go buy this Ford pickup truck with 4-wheel drive and a crew cab for $6,000 less, right? And so this snowmobile, like you're talking about the Neo, like not everybody needs a 10,000 or 12,000 or 15. Like some people just want to have a snowmobile around.
Yeah.
And for $7,000, if not that that's not a lot of money to some folks, but if you're going to ride it 6, 8, 10 times a year, that's a lot better of an investment than a 15, and especially because nobody cares about that technology. When you go to sell it with inflation and the little things that are going to happen in the world, you're going to get your money back out of it in a few years if you decide you wanted to get out of it. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to feel bad if it sits there for a month and you don't touch it, Yep. And it's going to perform. You're still going to have fun. When snowmobiling came around, like a Olympic 320 had like 18 horsepower. That was it. That was when snowmobiling was born. 18 horsepower, right? And people loved it.
Yep.
Smiles, mullets, killer gear, one-piece snowsuits.
That's right.
No suspension, broken backs. You know what I mean?
I was thinking one-piece Carhartts and bunny boots,
Facts.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
But I just love it because it brings fun. Like there's the people that need that technology and that horsepower and all that cool stuff.
Yeah,
And I do have that rider. DNA, but I'm so much more turned on by just people being able to get into the sport that would be otherwise intimidated by it, or would be out of they're out of the market. They couldn't afford it or whatever. And so you've got these entry level. The entry level products are as important as the $22,000.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you can work up to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Get everyone out there doing stuff. That's what it's about. It's getting outside.
Yep. And we're mega lucky, right? Did you see the Peloton? Have you seen the Peloton news lately? Like the Peloton, the stationary bike?
They're cranking it up. They got the mirror. They got all the...
cranking it up for the... No, they're tanking. They're tanking.
They are?
They're tanking because for COVID, their sales went through the roof, right? Well, I got to stay home. Better get an exercise bike. What CEO is sitting around like, you know what? This is never going to end. So let's up production. Let's crank out more stationary bikes because when it's over, nobody's going to want to go outside.
Oh, no.
Said no one ever. And here we are. We've been selling.
Now they're clothes racks.
100%. And they're tanking. They're having a huge shift because we're super fortunate. The stuff that we sell, and like during the beginning of the pandemic, it was like for about 30 seconds, I was like, oh, we're fucked. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, oh shit, everybody gets to come back to work. Everybody wants to go outside. Like Alaskans were like, yeah, we're going to do this for about the 15 days that Trump said we should do it. And then after that, they're like, yeah, go fuck yourself. I'm out. I'm out. Did my part. And so it's just never stopped. And what's cool about it is it's totally sustainable. Like, you get into snowmobiling, you get into watercrafts, you get into boating, you get into biking, you get into hiking, you get into any of the outdoor. I don't care what it is. I'm a multi-user guy. Like, I talk about snowmobiles and boats all the time, but I groom snowmobile trails in Whittier so that people can come ski and cross-country ski and fat bike on them. I don't do any of those things. I don't want to do those things. I make unfair judgments about people that do those things sometimes when they're my friends. So if you do any of those things, I'm sorry.
Thanks for your honesty.
But dude, I love that a thing that I do can help somebody else do a thing they do like way better. I just think that's super cool. So all those people are not going to stop doing that because, pandemic's over, back to my Peloton. Like, that's just not ever going to happen. No. And so we're in like this really cool sustainable thing that there was like, the number is like 60% new entrants to power sports in the last 12 months, 60% new. And of those, or 60% more entrants, and of those, like 35% have never been in before.
Oh, that's cool.
You can't buy that kind of new customer. You just can't.
No. Yeah, it's going to take what happened to get it generated, to get people out there. And it's badass because you might get, 60% jump. Even if 30% sustain and stay in it, that's still going to keep things.
That's what I've been saying this whole time.
For you guys,
we're not going to keep them all.
No,
there's going to be some that are like, I'm going back to France again, or I'm going.
I'm going to sell my snow machine, my jet ski, my this, that, and the other.
But you're going to keep a lot of them.
Oh yeah, Because if you are going to live here and you're going to do this lifestyle, and maybe you were living here and living in an apartment, or you're doing something where you were just kind of inside, and you got out there and you sniffed something that you liked. Fat tire mountain biking, skiing, hiking, snowmobiling, jet skiing, something will stick with you. One of those things, power sports. Come on, everybody likes riding something that makes you go fast.
Well, that and like we have like such an awesome industry, because even if you don't like snowmobiling, you might like skiing and you might hate lift lines. And your restriction before might have been a sled that was hard to ride or intimidating to ride, or I don't like pollution or smoke or whatever. Find a snowmobile that we sell that smokes anymore. You can't find one.
Oh, that's a good point.
A 4-stroke SkiDoo gets like 35 miles per gallon. Like, you can't find that anywhere. Our 2-strokes get 20-something miles per gallon. They're like... even a non-electric start sled now has this crazy technology called shot. You pull start it once in the morning, the rest of the day you just touch a button and it starts up like a Prius at an intersection, right? Like, ski racks, totally integrated. It's so easy to own and operate power sports equipment and other stuff now that you're the backcountry skiers and the snowboarders and so many other folks are using snowmobiles to access now, because even at that price of lift tickets are expensive, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, you make a really good point, because I get made fun a lot because I don't go out with all my boys who are big mountain riders, and they go out and do all this stuff. I'm like, nah, man, I want the one that can put the auger on. I want the one that can get me out there to the lake that no one else can get to, so I can ice fish, and it's just like, I know that I need the power vehicle to get me out there. And so they're just like, oh, well, no, you should just get the mountain one, man. I'm like, no. I know they got something for me over there for that.
There's been this huge shift. Like, I have, I'm the shining example of it. Like, if it didn't have all the horsepower, it wasn't the lightest thing and the loudest thing with all the turbo, and it had to run on race gas or AMDS.
Lug track.
Yeah, if it didn't have that, I wasn't riding it. Now, like the SkiDoo Expedition series, we sell 5-to-1 over mountain sleds, because you've got a little bit of an aging population that's getting out of mountain riding, and they're like buying cabins and they're doing all that sort of stuff. They're doing what you do. It's that overland, my fault. It's that overland adventure, like everything vehicle. And the Expedition, if you haven't seen it, I'm not trying to sell
I already know I want one.
Dude, it legit has an ice auger holder. In the catalog, it says...
I've seen it, dog. I've seen it.
With chainsaw. It has all the stuff, right? Like, it's just so... And it's designed in a way, too, that makes you feel like... like that Toyota TRD 4Runner, right? Like, I don't want one, but if I was ever going to do some overlanding, I'd buy that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's my thing. Yeah. And so it's like... The technology and the innovation is speaking to like such a more broad audience that before would have been like, man, I don't want that clunky old Scandic that hurts to ride.
Yeah,
you don't have
Rampa
to
machine.
now. No, man, it's like an F450 but a Lariat with air suspension and leather and a moonroof. Like,
you can still go get a POW turn in. if you want.
100%.
Yeah, you know.
I power ride the
With the
crap
auger
out
on
of
the
my
back?
24-inch.
What's up, Bootsy?
One of the hard things about, like, so we grew up with sleds, and we were more like, you know, trail riders and stuff. This is like pre-mountain, you know, pre-95 kind of stuff. I feel like now when you get into snow machine game, it's kind of like owning a boat. Like, you become a boat person, right? And that was a worry for me. So like when I bought a boat, I bought it with someone else. So then I don't feel obligated to be on my boat all the time. I feel like I can go on a hike and not feel guilty, or go fly fishing and rafting and do all the other rad shit. Because I think like Alaska's a place for variety. The place that's like missing me on the sled route is like having like some sort of like co-op, where it's just like a group of people that have like these sleds together. And I've asked around, I've never heard any options like this, but man, if there could be some sort of co-op, like people have them for airplanes, where we can like have sleds and enjoy that, but don't feel guilty spending 20 grand when we're only going to use it, you know, 3 times a year because I ski and fat bike and do all the things where I got to earn it up the mountain.
Yep. Yeah.
That was for you, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But you know, that conversation about the different product innovation where there's like you can buy for less, like that's what comes to mind for me. It's funny because you speak to me. There's boat people, there's airplane people, there's snow machine people,
That's right.
There's football people, there's people
And cabin people.
Cabin people.
Yeah.
Dude, and that's actually funny you bring that up. I'll bounce to that for a second, because people are like, oh, well, you should get a cabin. You know, you guys, it's so great. And I'm like, I have a cabin. It's called a boat. And I can go all over the fucking place.
That is fucking right.
And so I don't have to go to my cabin every weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
Do I love the idea of a cabin? What man in the world ever hasn't loved the idea of a cabin in the fucking woods? Of course I love that. But after 3 weekends in a row, I'm like, cabin's still here. Same trees. Yeah. Pissed on that one already. But so I love it. But like the co-op thing is a great idea that I haven't heard of either, but people that co-own boats is popular because the price is high. But that's what I think about with what SkiDoo's done with like the Spark, right? Like the SkiDoo Spark and this new snow machine, the Neo.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't feel guilty about spending $7,000 and only riding it a few times. As guilty as you've got a $20,000 snowmobile.
Oh yeah,
that's going to depreciate
every
quick
weekend
because it's 180 horse this year and it's 280 horse next year, and the next thing you know, you've rode it 3 times and it's worth $2,000, right? So I think that starts to address part of that sort of thing. But like, you know, I don't know that this works with combustion snowmobiles, but like I look at the electric market and I think about you go to Seattle and you take your credit card and you swipe it and you grab a scooter and you scooter off, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, scooter gang! Shout out.
You can't do that with combustion stuff because there's too much maintenance and stuff involved. But when you've got a battery pack and an electric motor, I mean, I've thought about what the future of that looks like. Like you show up in Seward and you're like, you want to go to your favorite restaurant in the winter, you just get out of town. And you're like, oh look at that, there's 5 snowmobiles right there, and you just swipe your credit card. It's $22 a minute or whatever. Fucking run out to Exit Glacier, get a snow machine ride in. You're done for the year. No guilt.
Happy as hell. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, and that's where like it's not similar but similar. Like that's why I talk about there's so much innovation coming in boating and stuff. It's like there's so many things that people that are at our age are we're going to watch our kids doing that. You're like, damn, we talked about that.
Yeah.
That's right. It'll totally happen. But I fully agree with you because I mean this year I snow checked. I snow checked a 120 for my 2-year-old, and I snow checked a Neo Summit 55 horse because my 10-year-old can ride an 850 turbo that has a stage 3 tune that's 200 plus. So he can ride it pretty good. Yeah, scares the shit out of me. So I bought him a 55 horse, right, like 1/5 the power. I snow checked 2 sleds because I don't feel guilty about then hopping on the boat and going boating and not using those toys, right? Like and
that's what you like to do in the winter, where like some people have like, you know, Daniel ice fishes a lot. You know, I'm on the mountain downhill skiing a lot, you know, and fat tire biking. So I need to I really want to do it, and I want my family to be in it, but I only want to do it like 5 times or 4 times a year. Maybe. Yeah. So that's why I was like thinking like that co-op idea would be really good. But I mean, also cheaper sleds that are like more reasonable, that don't have to be the top of the line because I don't need all the best shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like it goes down the trail, it doesn't fail. Man, that's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, you won't be the first guy to the top of Turnagain, but you'll still get to go out and go for a ride with your family for a little less money. But that's why you're speaking to me with the boat. Like that's because I'm boat people.
Right.
I snowmobile only because I can do it right by my boat. For real. That's why I don't have a cabin. I wouldn't do it. Like I am boat people, man. I love the ocean. I can't get enough of the ocean. When I'm snowmobiling, I choose to ride my snowmobile where I can see the ocean, because if I can see it, I can probably smell it, and all that just gives me that emotional connection, or whatever. So
you're speaking to me, man.
Yeah. But I'm not the guy that's like, God, I really want to go fat tire biking this week. I'm like, I'm not a fat tire. If you've seen me a couple of times, I'm not a fat tire bike material, right? Like definitely not in the snow, right? I'm not that guy. But I respect that there's like. There are so many things to do in Alaska, and in our dealerships, like that's the thing is, it's like when I say this in our radio ads and on our radio show is, I'm like, if you don't know what you want to do, come see us.
Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah, we'll find something.
We want to put the fat tire on the snow machine. Ooh,
I think you gotta earn it, dude.
Then you get
we're gonna get back into this again, but you gotta earn it.
It's like the electric bike.
Yeah. I do take the lift up though. So.
I've heard snowmobiling a lot, and I've never ever said snowmobiling. I've always said snow machining, and my mom, wonderful ethnic Colombian person, snow machining. And you've been saying snowmobiling a lot. Is that because you're dealing with the dealers from the south?
I don't know what happens with me. So I'm originally from Minnesota, so I'm from snowmobile country.
Okay.
But I've been in snowmobile dealerships for 25 years, and so it's snow machine. Like I get that, but it's a fucking snowmobile. Okay, and I've seen the articles and shit that just came out. It's what it's called. It's SkiDoo snowmobiles. It's not SkiDoo snow machines. I don't care what you say. I can call it whatever you want. It's whatever, booster scooter. Doesn't matter what you call it. It's cool. I don't know why snowmobile just rolls off my tongue. It's I don't know. I like saying it on the radio ads better. I don't know. It's something.
Is that a uniquely Alaskan
I don't think so. I don't think that
Let's
it is.
say in Canada.
Machines is like, Western Canada, Western US. But like, honestly, my problem probably is that for SkiDoo to pay for 50% of my radio ads, I have to say SkiDoo snowmobile 3 times in a radio ad to get paid back.
Wired.
So probably honestly, it's probably part of it. It's just probably habit.
Can you say snow machine 3 times?
Snow machine, snow machine, snow machine.
Okay.
I can do it.
You know what my favorite is? From our folks that live in the real backcountry? Snow-go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the snow-go.
But that was a model, right? That was like the
It's like Kleenex.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Kleenex or Coca-Cola.
Well, on the west coast of Alaska, like they call it now, it's SkiDoo. Even if it's not a SkiDoo, it's SkiDoo.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really?
That's pretty common.
It's just kind of what they call a sled.
That's probably fading away now, but 10, 12 years ago, that was a thing. It was a SkiDoo. Like, and people would call, like a 4-wheeler is a Honda. Doesn't matter what brand it is. People call us for Honda parts. No, I have a 2008 Can-Am. You just ask for Honda parts.
It's just what we've been calling them for like 40 years.
Yeah. Because that's the most prominent ATV on the West Coast. Most prominent snowmobile on the West Coast of Alaska is SkiDoo snowmobile. Always has been.
Yeah.
Always will be. And
there you go.
I think that has a lot to do with it.
It's just like the bubbler. Do you know the bubbler story?
The bubbler?
Yeah.
What's the bubbler?
So there, in the United States, there's like water fountain or whatever.
I know the bubbler,
but the bubbler.
the bubbler I was thinking of, I don't think
in
what we're
Wisconsin,
going
you
for.
go get ask for the water fountain or whatever. They're like, oh, the bubbler. And
That's a Wisconsin thing?
Yeah, because the original water fountain guy
Midwest,
was
dude?
from Wisconsin and made a thing called the bubbler. And then everyone else started calling it water fountain. But it's still bubbler in Wisconsin.
I didn't know that.
Right.
Speaking about Wisconsin, I made my first cheese curds last night. Oh. My buddy Duncan brought some from Wisconsin, and so I Googled up how to do it on the air fryer. Oh my gosh, dude. My son.
on the air fryer?
Oh man, dude. Mattel was like, is there more? I was like, he goes back to the Packer game in September.
I'm a Midwest dude, man. Like,
Oh, cheese curds, man. Oh my god, dude. It doesn't matter
The
where it
cheese
is. I gotta
curds and
try it.
that snow machine heater. They have the food.
Oh, let's
heater.
talk about that innovation that's going on, man. My brother and them been just talking about how the new whatever it is.
hot
It used to
dogger?
be
Like
the
a
hot
cooker?
dogger. Yeah, that's just cooks it all up, man. Bootsy's in there with his
Get the steak meat in
yeah,
there?
dude, the teriyaki chicken.
You got one
with
of
all
these,
this
Nick?
stuff.
well, are you talking about
It's the one that they're like, oh, it goes all the way around the thing. It's wrapped. It's wraps around the thing, so it heats up the bottom and the top.
Like around the pipe?
There's
Yeah.
a lot of variations of what I've always liked to call it the muff pot. That was the original. Well, the original was the hot dogger, and then they came out. The hot dogger was like this cheap tin thing.
Yeah.
And it was flat. And then the muff pot came out, and it's got a cool name, and it was like stainless steel, so it was like legit. Like versus $29.99, it was like $69, but it was the muff pot. It was nicer. And then now they have like cooker cans where like
that's what it is.
Yeah, the exhaust goes out and this thing slides in the side of it. Versus And so I've had lots of cooker cans, and if you every single radio show I do where I talk about snowmobiles, I always say if you're snowmobiling with me. And you never have, you're like, what is that? That smells like jalapeno cheddar moose dog. And I'm like, yeah, because doesn't everybody fucking put those in their cooker? Like, that's what you put in there. And if you run out of those, which is tragic, and I'll kill people if they waste those things, right? But, pizza rolls, White Castle cheeseburgers, 4 of those fit perfectly, sort of smashed in a little bit. Super good for you, but they're delicious trail food.
Where the fuck do you get White Castle cheeseburgers?
Get them at the grocery store. Come on. Like
you can, and at the old Tessie, the Girdwood Tessie, they used to have their 12-pack in there.
Oh, really?
And you can get them jalapeno.
You know the best way to cook those?
Did you know
about
this? No, I didn't know that.
You got to cook them. You got to like steam.
Can't get them no more. Everyone heard about it.
You ever done that?
Oh,
you
yeah.
Steam them?
They get steamed in the cooker on the snowmobile for about 10 seconds, and then they turn fucking black and rock hard because they burn.
Full hockey puck?
Yeah, it's hockey puck time. But the answer to the question is like 100% absolutely yes. Like if I'm riding for 20 minutes, something's in my hot dogger. That's just the way that it is.
Well, now it's quicker because what I've been hearing, the feedback from the boys is like, oh man, remember we used to have to ride the whole time and then it would maybe be ready. And now it's like, we got to stop because it's ready.
I had this customer. I still know him. His name's Zach. He's one of the Russians, right? And we would go, and back when I would ride mountains a lot, he'd always show up and you could guarantee there was a T-bone and some potatoes in that thing. I mean, like a legit T-bone, like not some bullshit T-bone, but like 3 inches thick, fit the whole thing.
Put a 20-ouncer on that thing?
He'd pull that thing out with a steak knife, grab of course, Russian, pull the bottle of Crown out of the back, set it on the seat, a couple forks for everybody. Dig in, boys.
Yeah.
I like
T-bone on the mountain,
too.
huh?
Yeah. He can replace Kyle on the raft trip.
Yeah, Kyle.
So you can't put a hot dogger on the raft. It's not going to do much.
No. They need something like that for the raft.
But the reason that my mind just goes to all the different things that are around right now. We have this product on the floor right now. And it's called the bento, it's called the hot bento.
You were talking about that.
Yeah. $99. It's lithium powered and it'll heat up 3 different meals, 15-minute intervals. And you charge it like you charge anything else, and you bring it with you, and you put your you put whatever you're wanting to warm up in there, right? Like you put it in there, and it takes 15 minutes, and it warms it up. So it's about
it's just like a box. You put whatever you want in there.
Yeah,
it's like a USB pre-charged.
This one's not USB.
Okay,
so. But you have to plug this one into the wall, and then you get 3 charges at 3 whatever. But clearly, this is a brand new product. Innovation is going to be. Yeah. It's 100% going to be USB, but for right now, and so it's like if you're rafting, now you have a thing
that is
bring,
so perfect.
But dude, that's why I carry a jet boil in certain circumstances, not because I need it, but because there are just times when I'm like, I'm just done eating dry cold shit. I want something more, even if it doesn't matter when I warm up. It can be
ramen noodles.
I don't care. Yeah, it's all the difference in the world.
I like the idea of this, but it warms up the water. And then we just pour it down our boots and we're up. Rainy days on the river in October. Sounds great.
Do they have the cooker for ATVs?
It's not as popular. They don't do the cooker can for ATV exhaust. They don't get as hot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're also exposed generally in an ATV, right? The cool thing about a cooker can on a snowmobile is it's underneath the hood. So it's kind of enclosed. And otherwise your food's out there on your,
Yeah.
When I ride a 4-wheeler, it's going in the mud and it's dirty.
Yeah, certified. Yeah,
not as popular.
Not very sanitary.
Yeah. Let's quick break. Give a shout out to the other sponsors, then we'll come back into the next topic here. The Treehouse AK, your one-stop dispensary located at 341 Boniface Parkway. Be sure to ask the bud tender about their deal of the day, because honestly, there's always something good on deck. And guys, listen, this is where the culture lives. At the Treehouse, their dedication to servicing consumers has been developed through a lifetime of involvement in the cannabis culture. They're committed to providing the highest quality products at whatever value your budget affords, while always maintaining the deep-rooted principles that have carried them this far. Their focus is on relationships over transactions, and you can always depend on them to treat you with the respect you deserve. Hit them up at thetreehouseak.com, and remember, you must be 21 years of age to enter their store.
Tailored Restoration, 24-hour emergency home services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, repair, and remodeling. Tailored has an emergency response number with trained professionals available to help you at any time, day or night. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, or Fairbanks. Make an appointment today at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.
Since 2008, Serrano's is Anchorage's own new generation of old cocina. Their menu showcases the passion and love of their rich heritage and unique family recipes that have been passed down through the generations. Serrano's goal is to embrace and display trad flavors using the best ingredients that are available. They focus on making everything from scratch daily. In-house menu includes handcrafted corn tortillas, salsas, carne asada, and chorizo. But don't take their word for it. Experience their tradition and sabor for yourself. Locations on Tudor and Northern Lights, both with new tequila bars. Check out their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
The Connoisseur Lounge, located in the heart of Palmer, Alaska. The Connoisseur Lounge is Palmer's first locally owned and operated cannabis retailer. Their beautiful store is located at 226 Evergreen Avenue. The Connoisseur Lounge has exclusive cannabis products such as Snowcap Romance, Aurora Haze, Super Glue, and one of our favorites, Sugar Cookies. And if you're not into the flower, the Connoisseur can hook you up with edibles, vape supplies, and a ton of CBD options for all your health and inflammation needs. Check out their daily deals at theconnoisseurlounge.net, or even better, stop by the lounge today. Remember, you must be 21 years of age to enter their store.
They're really flexible.
Yeah.
Random question. Is Arctic Cat done in Alaska, or do you think there's going to be another store popped up? Because I noticed that you guys bought that space that they were in and started your own little thing there, and I'm just curious because I know we had some of the other boys, Mike Morgan and these guys here, and it just seems like that's just like took a super dive. Man, what's the story there?
I sit in an interesting place to look at that because I've been selling SkiDoos for almost 20 years, and I have my, got our frustrations and challenges with that. But when we bought Anchorage Suzuki Arctic Cat, we did intend to probably not sell cat. That was like our first initial thought. And then as the transaction went down and stuff, we're like, no, this is good. We'll hang on to it. It's some good sales. And there's mega loyal cat people, like super, super loyal cat people.
The purple and checkered jacket
Well,
guys.
Suzuki too. I mean, those King Quads.
Totally. And they're separate. Suzuki North America and Arctic Cat are separate deals. They're connected in certain ways with engines and
motors and stuff.
Yeah, but what I've learned, like especially through what we've talked about with the success of SkiDoo for us, is that like having a SkiDoo dealership right now has like made us feel kind of like royalty. They really do listen. They're trying really hard to fix all the supply chain challenges, and they're just trying really hard, and they're working with their dealers, and we're all really successful with them. And then you go over to their store and you like start digging into the cat story, and you're like, fuck, man, get your shit together. You've been making snowmobiles as long as anybody else. They're owned by a really big corporation, right? Textron is humongous. And to them...
Or Mike mentioned that.
Yeah, to them, Cat is probably kind of like a thorn in their side. They bought it, and that's a way they can channel shit. They probably had a theory that they were going to channel some of their military shit through Arctic Cat and get some sales that way, and through governmental sales. And Arctic Cat's building all of these little mini sleds for everybody, to include SkiDoo. So they're building the 120s and 200s for SkiDoo, Cat, and Yamaha. It's all the same thing. Because at that level, like innovating that is just no money in it, and so you're really just flying a color. But having that cat dealership has certainly gave me a lot more respect for the brand that we sell next door. I think day to day, my opinion changes. I think Arctic Cat could fold tomorrow. I mean, the way they on that other store, they canceled 70 plus orders on us. We're not going to do those.
Wow.
Well, I have customers that gave us money. Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do this either. We're not going to do that. It's crazy. They just don't have the sophistication that SkiDoo has, and they're struggling during this time, right? And so we talked today, we had a meeting actually this morning, and we were discussing how the Japanese and Chinese brands, and Suzuki being one of those and connected to the Arctic Cat sort of story, versus BRP being connected to Canada, US, Austria, Germany. Like there's they get their products from different places.
International.
Yeah. And so we've seen more success with it. I don't think you're going to see any more cat dealers. You know, the Great Land Arctic Cat in the Valley went out of business about 2 years ago now, right after COVID started going on. And we took on Cat and we kept it. I mean, we would blow it up if Cat would bring it. I mean, we have that. We have the horsepower now. Alaska Motorsports and Equipment, which is now the Cat dealer, with Alaska Mining and Diving as the parent company, we've got the horsepower to do something with it. But if you don't have the product and the innovation, we talk about all this crazy cool stuff that's coming out. If Cat just has the same old stuff, you know, there's super loyal cat guys that love cats, and there's some cool shit. They've got some stuff that nobody else has, but they don't have enough of it, and they don't have the dealer support. You know, like it's a big part of it. If a dealer doesn't have the support of the manufacturer, they get burned out. And then they themselves start to kind of lose interest, you know, and they start looking for other areas of opportunity. Like, I'm passionate about stuff, right? Like, I like SkiDoo snowmobiles a lot. As we've talked about, it checks every box for me and for a lot of our customers or whatever. But if they started doing stupid shit like that, I would just be looking for another brand to make sure our business was successful. Like, we're not a SkiDoo store. We're Alaska Mining and Diving Supply. Right? We're not an Arctic Cat store. We're Alaska Motorsports and Equipment. So our job, especially as an employee-owned company, is to make the best decisions that we can for our company based on the financial success of the employee owners, the shareholders. Yeah. If you held on to Cat just because you loved Cat, and it just kept dragging you down and hurting the bottom line, you should get fired.
Yeah.
You can't
bring that emotional attitude to your business.
No, you cannot. You could certainly start your business because of an emotional trigger or whatever, but
or a passion.
Yeah, or a passion, but then it becomes a business, right? And unless you're a not-for-profit, which none of the things I'm involved in are not-for-profits, these projects. And so that's a great question. And you can tell probably by I have hesitancy in my voice because I just don't know.
Yeah.
But I also know we're positioning that business to not, okay, bye.
Yeah, okay. It's not going to make or break it.
Go somewhere else. We're going to work on other things.
They're going to have their
diversify.
own identity.
It'll give us more room on the showroom, and it'll free up more capital. It'll give us, the mental capacity to bring on. We sell Arctic Cats next to tractors now, and tractors are killing it. Tractors carried us through the first year. Tractors.
Yeah. Are you guys dealing with Mahindras?
Yeah.
Is that what you're dealing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about tractors.
You look like you know a lot about tractors.
I know. I mean, I know New Holland.
Gotta get those coveralls. Square bill hat, buddy.
Yeah.
All you need to know about Mahindra is they're the number one tractor manufacturer on Earth.
Okay.
Number 3 in the U.S. behind John Deere and Kubota, of course. And it's an Indian company, and they do things real different than anybody else. They're super arrogant, but they build really reliable shit, and their tractors are awesome. That's like the quick version of that. Yeah. And I seriously think it was a great move for us to add Mahindra to our lineup, because I think that every single Alaskan man or woman who owns more than an acre should have a fucking tractor.
Amen.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to pick up a bale of hay, or even? I talked to one guy at the state fair.
Snow, man.
Yeah, plowing snow. I talked to a guy at the state fair. He's like, I don't even pick up my garbage anymore. I dump it out I carry it out. I drag the thing and I dump it in the driveway. I get the tractor and I put the pickup in the bucket and put it in the.
Yeah. I want one for downtown to move those stands around.
Dude, there you go.
And there's a tractor co-op.
I was talking to I don't know if you know Jeremy, who has the 907 Surplus, but I was speaking of epic beards. You haven't met that guy? You know Jeremy?
Maybe. I've
heard of him. I haven't met him in person.
Over off of Spinard?
No, he's up here off of Boniface. Okay. Boniface in the highway. 907.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he's a customer of ours for a while, but the dude has an epic beard. I mean, we both.
The one down to here.
No.
Like, oh.
Beardo with 3 O's.
Totally. It flies out to they invite him places for his beard. But
wins competitions.
He's got waiters for his beard.
Totally. But he we were talking about doing a raffle for the Alaska Outdoor Council, to raise some money or whatever, and we started talking about sleds and 4-wheelers. We did a raffle with him for some for a side by side last year, and I was like, he's like, yeah, I'd like to get into maybe doing something different next year. We did the side by side. We're gonna do the snow machine this time, and I got to really get outside the box. And I'm like, man, we could do a tractor. He's like, yeah, man, but the money. I'm like, if you haven't shopped for a tractor, you can buy a pretty badass tractor for like 15, 16, 70,000 bucks. Like, it ain't a big ass tractor, but it's a tractor that anybody would be super stoked to have around their property. And he was just like, are you kidding me? Really? And it's like, seriously considering talking about doing it. I mean, because that's a demographic of any outdoor enthusiast.
Yeah.
Well, big time.
Anybody with a cabin or anything like that.
yeah.
Property.
You find something to use, bust that thing out.
Yeah.
So-
pulling stumps or.
So yeah, if Cat goes away, more tractors.
There you go.
I hope they don't, because I think for the snow machine industry as a whole, having Arctic Cat there, it's one of the, you got the 4 pillar brands now. That's all you've had for a while. When we were all before we were all born, there was at one time there was 30 something plus snow machine brands that were rolling around.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
The 80s and 90s.
So
70s,
who's
80s.
everyone now? SkiDoo, Polaris,
Cat
Yamaha.
and Yamaha.
Oh, Yamaha.
And arguably Yamaha's not a player, but they're still manufacturing snowmobiles, and they still make some pretty cool technology.
Hey man, I got a VMAX.
And they partner with Cat. They put
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Yamaha Cat, right? They call it the
Cat.
The
Yeah.
Yamaha Cat.
Yamaha Cat.
So you mentioned earlier but do you guys plan on having another store somewhere in town or in Eagle River somewhere else?
It's going to be real close to where we are now, real close. We've already purchased the building, and we've already got the property, and we're already accepting bids on some parts of the project already.
Is it a space thing? You need some more.
It's a space thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and again, back to the redheaded stepchild. It's just that's how the business started, but it's such a small part of the business. But
Yeah.
it's a small part of the business because we haven't focused on it, because we've focused on where the big money is.
Yeah, power sports.
And marine.
Boats.
And so, yeah. But there's, again, back to just recreation, right? Recreational gold panning and prospecting, treasure hunting,
Blowing
metal
up.
detecting.
It's blowing up.
It's so freaking cool.
It
Yeah.
is so fucking cool.
My kids and I just did our first, I got a rock tumbler for them for Christmas. We just did our first batch.
Love that, man.
They're jacked on it, man. They're all of a sudden they're like, what's that made of? What's that come from? How's that formed? Right? It's just conversations with the kiddos. And my kid has a metal detector we keep on the boat, man. He gets off on the beach and he swings that thing looking for treasure. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
You find anything cool?
Cool ass rusted nails and shit. Tons of garbage that's now on my boat because
That's his treasure.
But that's his 100%. And we actually
Straight
ended up
from Japan.
no shit. We true. We went and stayed at in Hobo Bay. This was 2 summers ago, and he had first has a metal detector, and there was another couple families. Hobo Bay's big, and we were planning to go up to the granite mine in the morning, go for a hike, and no kidding, one of the kids like, "Oh, Dad, can I go to the boat and get a metal detector?" And my kid's like, "You have a metal detector?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I have a metal detector." And the next thing you know, it's the next 4 fucking hours, these two are just, what are you he's just swinging it. But his treasure hunting is freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
And you can actually make some money doing it. And one of the founders of our company is literally the most world-renowned metal detector specialist on the planet, Steve Hirschbach. He's just literally the most world-renowned guy. And at our peak, we were selling hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of metal detectors a year, tons of them. And the technology is crazy. So dedicating the space to this treasure hunting, prospecting, and some of the bigger gold mining equipment. We've got a great guy now, Scott, that's down there that he's awesome. He actually he has gold claims where I hunt in 13, and so that's how I actually met him. And it turns out that he was looking to get out of, I want to prospect as much. I want to be in town, be around my family more. And I'm like, well, man, you could come work for us and use your expertise to help us build this store. And he's like, yeah, I'm in. So we found a super rad dude.
Wow.
Yeah, diamond in the rough kind of a guy. And so he'll be helping us open that store up. Yeah. They're working this week literally on placing massive orders for that store because we had to delay opening from January to September because we just couldn't get anything. So it was either open the doors empty or take our time, and we have plenty of time. So
Come out swinging.
Big hammers.
Yeah.
And then the other homies can see how you guys, your culture on your main location.
Yeah, and so Mahindra is, your guys are probably the premier dealer now.
We're the only dealer in Alaska.
Only dealer, so definitely the premier. As it pertains to mining stuff, again, you guys will be kind of the only show in town, right?
There's another couple little spots scattered throughout the state, but the store will be the Alaska Mining and Diving Supply Superstore. So it'll be back to the roots. Like Alaska Mining and Diving Supply was the name of the store, but we're a SkiDoo dealer, a Kingfisher dealer, Canon dealer, right? So it'll be AMDS. So it'll be a mining superstore where the logo is already all designed, the signs are made, the stickers are done.
Fucking badass.
And it will be, it's finally like for the prospector and the miner, that's like, you guys have been really pissing me off these last few years, right? Like you always squishing it into the back corner of the store. You don't have everything I want.
Gotta order everything.
No. You guys brought it up to the front come COVID time.
We did because we ran out. We didn't have nothing else. But we're gonna give it the attention it needs. And there's a big community out there of people that are prospectors that are super excited about what we're doing.
They got to live the dream, man.
Yeah, I love that you guys are returning to your roots of what the business originally was.
And it needs to be spun off because it doesn't do anybody any favors. Like it just gets kind of used
It's
this
a
area.
distraction, and then it doesn't do justice to that cause and passion for people coming in.
And the power equipment goes really good with it, generators and all that stuff.
Dude.
We've got chainsaws over at the other stores.
The
We got
tractors,
Husky,
I mean,
the
all
tractors.
this stuff goes like hand in hand with everything.
Yep. So that'll be positioned literally next door to the tractors. So it's gonna all
Fucking sweet.
That's
Be
nice.
flowing.
That's nice.
Very cool.
Well, that kind of transitioned me into I don't know if it's the third or fourth thing you guys got going on, or the 100th. With the book, with the book stuff, man, you came in here with like 5 different books, and I know that we talked before on the podcast about the cruising guide to Prince William Sound, that you guys bought the rights to sell that, along with some of these other books. I kind of want to get into these books that you guys are offering that are very Alaska-based, important things that I would think everyone would want or need.
Yeah. So the book thing is kind of funny because it's connected to Alaska Mining and Diving Supply because that's how I found out about it. But my wife and I actually bought Prince William Sound books from, and most people don't know about these other titles. It's funny. People are like, they wrote this other stuff too? Like people don't know it exists.
Yeah.
But a lot of what's in the cruising guide in terms of history and stuff comes from these other books. And so the cruising guide to Prince William Sound is like, whatever, it's the Bible, the Prince William
That's
Sound.
right.
book
You
on
got to
it.
have it, man.
Yeah. And so I always knew about the book. I'd used the book. I've had several copies of it all the time. And we've been selling it at Alaska Mining and Diving forever. And I had met Nancy Lethko because she'd come in and how many books you guys need, and we would order books from her and stuff. And then, and again, summary of a story, Jim passes away, and Jim and Nancy started this back in the 80s and plenty before that because they'd been boating for a long time. And we'll get into more detail on that later, but he passes away, and then a while later she becomes pretty sick. To where she really kind of can't carry on anymore. And the last cruising guide update was in 2009, which if you're talking about just the way the world's changing and
Earthquakes.
facilities and infrastructure and earthquakes and all these kinds of things, like that's pretty outdated. And I had heard it was like available for sale, and my wife and I, we talked about it, but they were in contract negotiations with a pretty big publisher in town. And I just assumed at that point, I'm like, I can't play in that arena. Like this would be a passion project for us. But I was concerned. I'm like, but man, a big place takes it over. They're going to do it justice. Are they just going to throttle this thing into people's hands until it doesn't sell anymore and it's outdated? And I dropped it. I just dropped it. I walked away from it. And we, one of those like family, totally not my plan. I firmly believe this is a God's plan thing. COVID comes along. We talked about that earlier, like in the mining and diving world. I was in Whittier when we found out that it was 15 days to flatten the curve, right? And immediate board meeting, I'm on the phone. I'm like, fuck, we're going to shut the doors. Game over. And within 2 weeks of that, I get a call from Nancy's sister, and she's in Nebraska. And she's like, hey, Nick, I understand you and Nancy had a relationship. You know about her, and you've been selling the book at the store. You guys interested in buying the book? And I'm like, I'm interested. 100% I'm interested. Absolutely. And so we got to talking about it, and long story short, we put together a deal and made a contract and got the book company purchased. And it was a blessing because at that time of COVID, we decided to pull our kids out of school, right? We're done with this. Wherever you stand on that, and I haven't heard if you had a show on that or not, but my kid was not wearing a mask to school.
Right.
And we
weren't dealing with that.
I wasn't dealing with it. And we had just had a baby. So she has a newborn and we're dealing with that. And so she can't go back to work because we can't find childcare for the kids. So she had to quit her state job, which state jobs are pretty good. It's pretty lucrative, right? Good benefits and stuff. And so we were like, well, we got to quit the job, but we got to figure out how to pay for health insurance. We know Alaska Mining and Diamond Supply provides medical insurance to an extent, right? With offsetting costs or whatever, but it's still really, really expensive. And so the book company came along. We're like, this is perfect. We'll just make just enough money to pay for our family medical insurance. And like, so it was like just aligned. Like the day that happened, and the next thing happened. And then we acquired the book company, and everybody knows the Cruising Guide to Prince William Sound. That was easy. There was a bunch of pent up demand. I mean, there was copies on eBay for $2,500.
Yeah. So let me just like click in here, like at this exact times when I bought my boat. And so Nick and I think that's our first like text messages back and forth, where it was like, I'm trying to find the boat or the book.
Yep.
Like all my friends have the book. People are going to lend me the book.
And by the way, I thought you were an old guy back then. I thought you were this old dude back then.
That's pretty funny. But I like posted something on Facebook, and we have mutual friends. So I mean, immediately, Jen Siegelhorst, like she's like, I got 3, and came to the cidery and gave me one. Gideon put one in the mail with like a heartfelt message. Nice. And the same day, Nick's like, hey, next week I'm publishing for the first time the 5th edition, so they're back on the market because they're literally like $500+ on eBay, or you can't find them. Oh, and B. Locky, he sent me a copy that he made himself and like made photocopies and sent it a 3-ring binder.
I'm gonna need his phone number.
So I ended up with 4 of them.
Time out, bro.
This is before we knew that you were doing that. So he was just worried about me, right? He was just being a good buddy. So within like one day, I literally got 4 copies, but I mean, you came through because we all need this, right?
And we wanted, like, my biggest fear, my true fear was like, it had nothing to do, like we wanted to have a little business deal so that we could, like we had a need for our family, but my biggest concern was that it would just like quietly fall by the wayside. Like it falls apart, nobody picks it up, or some big publishing company picks it up and destroys it,
totally,
and ruins the essence of it or whatever. So when we went into there was a pretty it's pretty funny because it was a pretty small transaction, but it was a pretty lengthy contract negotiation because Nancy's sister was really adamant that they got a lot of credit for the book, right? So we got all that stuff put together, and I was like, listen, we're committed. Like, I'm not trying to change it to the Cruising Guide to Prince William Sound by Nick Olzenak. Like, I didn't write that fucking book, right? Like that book is lifetime, 2 people's lifetimes.
Yeah,
carry on the legacy.
Yeah,
that's exactly the term that I used, was that we want to carry on the legacy. And I think in the preface, I say that in the preface, because we pulled her preface out because, of course, at the time she's the publisher, our preface acknowledges and sort of I don't know what the word is,
homage.
But totally to who all the input came from. And then we have this whole new generation of people that have been like, we did a big photo contest on Facebook, and we had it was crazy the amount of people that submitted photos to our photo contest for that cruising guide, because we wanted to freshen it up a little bit, right? It's pretty old shit in there.
Some 80s pictures and shit,
You seen the picture of the naked guy? Have you seen that? There's a fully fucking naked dude in there that nobody knows about. You gotta find him. So you can do that thing.
What page?
He's like, where's
Waldo? We didn't know about it either until after we were like, there's what? And right here.
Where's Waldo?
It's in there, man. But so we wanted to memorialize Jim and Nancy, and we wanted to make sure that the thing got done. And at first we were just scrambling to keep up with copies. We were like, when we bought the book company, there was 500 copies that came with it, and we're like, because they had just gotten printed, and then they were just sitting there, and we're like, all right, that should be enough to get us through the pent up demand. And that was like
1 day's worth.
Fuck, it wasn't even a fraction.
Yeah,
I couldn't keep up, and it was. But then again, we just keep producing the book, and it keeps selling, and I'm like, we have to just stop at the next printing. We have to just stop, let the stuff sell, and we have to get some updates in the book. Getting an old book isn't bad at all. There's tons of shit in it. And plus everybody's using GPSs and all kinds of rad stuff now. So it's not like you're not navigating with the book. It was never intended for that.
Yeah.
It's just all it's like
informative.
It's all the pro tips, right? Like
it's all the nuances to specific bays and areas and just the cool little shit that Prince William Sound has.
And you can't know it unless you do it or read this book, right? You can't know it. So like, when I'm going into a harbor, even if I've been in there 1,000 times, it's open to that, or a harbor, a bay or anything.
Yep.
It's open to that page every time, because there's always a thing that I'm like, oh yeah, don't forget about that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we had tons of photos. We had lots of input. We had a huge bunch of help from a lot of people throughout the community. And the 6th edition will be, I mean, it's fully revised. The front and back cover look sexy finally. Like, I love this because it's like nostalgic,
and it's Alaskan, dude.
But we're
so
modernizing the look.
Yeah,
and
I like it.
We added full color photos. We added an advertising section, and the advertising section was really only geared around this time around Prince William Sound businesses that people would actually be like, oh shit, I didn't know that existed. Instead of like just go around Anchorage and find a whole bunch of breweries and cideries to make a bunch of money, because that wasn't the intention.
Right.
The intention was, we're going to do this many ads because if we do this many, it'll pay for the production costs and get the book back into print without becoming a magazine, because that's not what we wanted it to do.
Yeah,
because we could have. I mean, we could have sold that hard and made a lot of money.
Yeah, you didn't want it to look like a sellout thing.
I don't. It's going to still be spiral bound. It's very similar, but the whole inside is totally redone and re-energized.
Yeah,
and so, and again, without getting into super detail, the content in that book is like scattered across these other books that I didn't even know existed. I mean, we sell them. We've been selling them for years. I knew they were on my shelf, but I didn't pay attention to them. I didn't care. I read the History of Prince William Sound book right after we bought the company. And I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of crazy stuff in here. I mean, like raping, murdering, pillaging, killing, sinking ships, destroying villages, rooting,
piracy, and
fucking madness in Prince William Sound, man. And there's little excerpts and like, oh, I remember reading about that on this, but there's just like a little bit. It doesn't ever say in there, go to there to read that. It just, it's just there.
Little blurb.
That weather and climate to Prince William Sound book.
That's cool, man.
There's a whole section in the front of the book about the weather and climate. All comes out of this book, and it'll melt your brain if you're not ready to read it. Like, you need to smoke some weed or eat some mushrooms or drink some cider or whatever.
Brush up on your.
But I'm telling you, it answers all the questions that people are like, man, I went into that protected anchorage and the wind just blew all night, but I was surrounded by mountains, and I'm like, yeah, you need to read this book because it's
blowing over the top there.
Yeah, bro. It isn't like there's a fence, I stand behind it and the wind doesn't blow. Like, it doesn't work like that when you're talking about Prince William Sound. So there's all these other titles that have been so exciting to learn about. And we're not even scratching the surface on updating those yet, right? Like, we'll get to that at some point too, but the focus right now was for us to get the 6th edition of the Cruising Guide out. It's not ready yet. Like, as we're speaking tonight, we're really close. I was hoping to bring a copy to just kind of tease you with, but we're not there yet, because just like with every other industry and every other thing, there's a million roadblocks and hurdles and things to deal with right now. But we're so stoked to keep it alive, and it connects to me. It connects to Alaska Mining and Diving, because we're going to sell the book there. Of course, it'll sell online. Yeah. But every single boat owner, it just should just come with it. Like, it
totally, absolutely.
And it's even like, I've noticed too, like
a sled with a cover. I mean,
just like that, not with it. Extra money, but
no, that's the Expedition series.
What I've noticed about, like, the most telling thing for me about, because there's like, tourism is a big deal in Alaska, and like a lot of people outside Alaska are buying this book from us on our website. And I, like, at first I really just couldn't comprehend it. And I'm like, well, these folks are going to come to Alaska for an adventure at some point in time. And there really aren't a lot of Alaska adventure books. This book is called The Cruising Guide to Prince William Sound, but everybody that knows it ain't a cruising guide. It's an adventure guide, right? It doesn't matter what you want to do out there. There's even now that I've been so much more intimate with it, and my wife has literally read it cover to cover now 3 or 4 times in the last month. And I'll be reading a section with her, and I'll be looking at something, and I'll be like, really, it says this isn't a popular anchorage during hunting season. I wonder why that would be. They don't talk about hunting or what you would hunt there or why you would be there, but there's all these little other clues I never noticed before, because you're not going to go to it and be like, oh, go shoot, there's deer here, or this is a great bear spot. They talk about the timing and why they won't go there, because they weren't hunters.
Oh,
right. So they didn't write about that. And they even specifically call out in the cruising guide why they don't talk about hunting and why they don't talk about fishing. Controversial topics, so many different things to know. And so they say that we suggest you go here and look at that or whatever. And in the future, and if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I got some ideas for you, go on social media and go to PWS Books and give us insight. But that's a book for today, right? Yeah. Right now, it's a book. Yeah. There will always be a place for the Cruising Guide book in a boat, and I will always, as long as my wife and I are in charge of that thing, it will always produce a paper copy to go in a boat, because
absolutely,
you just have to, right?
Yeah,
you have to.
Yeah,
But
the way we do it is, so we have 3 copies, right? We have a copy in every adult that rides in the boat often's house, and then one on the boat. And then you get the highlighted one at home with all the little, marks to where you're going to go next.
You can mark it all up.
And when you take, for our group, because, we're 2 boat owners that are adults, living in separate households, whatever, Jake and I. And so he'll bring his boat with it, his copy with it marked out. Like, this is what I want to do, and leave it on there, and then take the boat copy home next time. And then I'm reading mine, highlighting mine, marking mine, and then next time I go, it gets left on there. So all of them end up with these like cool spots, and you like flip it open, and you're like, fuck, what's that one? And it's like, oh, Jake found this thing. This thing looks rad. Let's go check that out.
Yep. And I want what I visualize is that, like, all those, it's like you're one of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with notes, right? When I bought our most current boat, it had the 3rd edition in it. And I pulled it out, and it had like 1,000 fucking Post-it notes everywhere.
That's right.
Stacked in there.
And I had called him when we started the revision. And he got restationed for work over near Dubai. And the book's still here in his house in Anchorage because his contract will run out and he'll move back, and he couldn't find it. But I'm like, the next time we do an update, that's the shit that I want. I want to go deep. And a lot of people aren't going to share some stuff, and I totally understand that.
That's fine, yeah.
But I want paper copy, and then I don't know what the digital version looks like. People are asking and begging for digital, and I hear you, and clearly earlier in the show, right, we're talking about technology and innovation and all that sort of stuff. There will still always be this place for this book.
Oh, because, absolutely. The paper copy?
You have to have it.
Yeah.
So we will always have it, but there will eventually be some variation of it available, whether it's in sections or by subscription or whatever input people give us that would be the most handy on a tablet or a laptop or a cell phone. Yeah. And with the technology and GPS and cell service getting so good, and I'll call it out because I want to hear feedback, but like I envision, I always have an iPad. I have 4 screens on my boat plus an iPad because whatever.
Just nerding out.
Nerding the fuck out. But could you imagine, where you have location services turned on and you start rolling up on your spot, and would you like to navigate to, right? And you click that and the notes come up. You can swipe those to the side.
That'd be cool.
You know what I mean? Like something like that's a little bit more intuitive. So you've got, again, a supplement to your chart plotter, because I would never want that popping up on your chart plotter and you navigating with it.
Yeah.
You got your chart plotter navigator, that's for navigation. The book clearly says not for navigation. And then you would just have those like cliff notes that are right there on and it knows where you are.
You could reference to those.
Yeah, that's like, maybe that's a way to bridge the gap between a book and technology.
And I think it connects like the one weakness of the book. And the one weakness in the book is it's really hard to follow where you are in the sound to where you are in the book without looking up a name in the back. And then when you come back, it's not super intuitive. There's not like a main, picture of the greater area. And it's like, hey, the next
latitude,
12
longitude
pages,
spot,
or just like a map. And then like the next 12 pages are going to talk about different spots on this, right? It's not set up like that. You really have to be aware of like, okay, I know where, Shoestring Bay is or whatever. And
don't tell anybody where that is, by the way. That's my spot.
It's not in the book, page 9.
Yeah. You get torn up pretty fast there.
You can.
Yeah.
But I like what you're saying, and like in the there's like some chart pages like right before section 2, which is where all the like anchorages and stuff start. Yeah. But they're super ancient.
Yeah.
And another product that Prince William Sound Books, the parent, the company that we have that sells that book and produces that book, we have a bunch of other products now. And this is not a plug for those products, but what I want to do is we have a bunch of chart booklets that we sell, and they do just that. Like we've got the chart booklet East and chart booklet West that does like 13 or 9 really popular charts in those areas. Mm-hmm. And then we have like one chart each, like 16700, 16706, 16701. And so what eventually we will do is I want that information. So there'll be like the whole chart will be there, and it'll say reference this other book. And so not that you want to have 1,000 books on board, but you just have like reference if you're in the Western Sound
or whatever.
Yeah. So you'd have actual NOAA chart data that you could reference with the correct names that you could reference back to the page number. And that is a hole that we found too.
Love that.
Yeah. So
properly navigate right to that spot.
Yeah, and I wanted to do it in this version, but once we just started diving into just cleaning up the book, now they did Jim and Nancy did a great job. There's tons of information, but it's just, again, it's a really antiquated product. So the number one thing was like, oh, let's see an emergency phone number that hasn't been in service in 15 years, right? Let's get that out of there. Or like current maps of the harbors and the services offered, right? Like that was where we wanted to focus this time around. So that's all been cleaned up and updated. And then in the future, like more at navigational aids or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, and that's like, it's funny because that's a spinoff of being at mining and diving for so long, right? And like being super passionate about boating in Prince William Sound. And that actually started just after the salt company thing started, and I was saying earlier how we're boat people, our partners in the salt company, they're not boat people. They are now, but they're not boat people. They weren't boat people. And so like, I can't believe you invited us in this tiny little space that you inhabit. And you allowed us, we spent every fucking weekend together on this boat. 4 adults. At the time, it was 4 adults, 3 kids, and 2 dogs. At one point, their dog chewed through my chest freezer when we were out getting our take of salmon for the year. Like, I don't fuck around and fish all the time. I go one day and I get it all. And I bring the freezer on the boat and I fill it, I freezer pack it, and then I hoist it off the boat and I take it home and I plug it in for the year. I'm done fishing, right? And their fucking dog, we're out on the beach and I'm like, we get back and I'm like, that's weird. There's the cord to the freezer. Dog's not dead. And he chewed through the cord. So we had like these great experiences, right? But it ended up that being together on the boat, I think I was telling you earlier, we're shrimping. And of course the cruising guides involved were like, finding places to stay that maybe we could have a family go to the beach and camp, because we now have more people on the boat than we've ever had before. We've never had to look at the sound like that. Yeah.
You're like, where's the tent platform?
Yeah. Like I didn't even know that existed.
Did you update the tent platforms?
As many of them as we could. So
some of them are like mysteries.
You're total.
Like, what? There's one here?
Tim Lydon from the Chugach National Forest was extremely helpful. He's also with part of the Prince William Sound Stewardship Foundation, right? He's an avid boater. We went to the Fox Farm, Elrington Island cleanup last year with him. And he extensively wrote on a lot of those topics, but we didn't hit them all. And so we know we're going to have... This thing was so out of date that we had to hit all the priority
areas. And it's a huge area, right? It's bigger than like most Western states.
5 million acres.
How do you even really cover it all?
Well, how did this one couple cover it all? That's what's crazy.
When you read parts of the guide and they're like, one winter we spent in Dangerous Passage, and you're like, well, that's how they spent the entire winter. That's how they know what it's like there, because they literally
just
boat all the time.
Out.
They boat all the time. And that's what's like, and I talk about this on my show, which probably doesn't reach as many people that are outdoor adventures enthusiasts as probably your show does, or as broad of an audience. But like, and I mentioned it before, like winter boating, you need to be prepared for sure.
Absolutely.
But you need to be prepared to drive your fucking car from Chugach to Anchorage, right? Like, so it's just a different set of circumstances. But like I said, I was just boating last weekend, and had I known or been a little bit more prepared, I would have not even come back in on Saturday. I would have stayed. It was flat, calm, like a pancake all weekend. And when the COVID thing kicked up, we moved onto our boat in March because we were staying in a condo in Whittier, and we moved onto our boat because the condo people didn't want us there because we were Anchorage people, because I commuted back and forth. Yep. So they wanted us out. And I was like, fine, we'll move out. Go stay on our boat. We just boated every week, and the year when COVID started in 20, right?
Yep.
When that all shit went down in March, it was sunny for like 13 weekends in a row in flat calm.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that happened, but I would have never done that before. And so we were going to the beach and climbing up 3-foot, walls of snow and going hiking and doing all kinds of stuff and enjoying ourselves. And like, people are so limited to thinking that they should just be there for this finite amount of time. The book talks about how to anchor in those conditions and where to anchor in those conditions. And there's some anchorages in the Sound that they describe sitting on anchor and watching 50 and 60 knot squalls blow by and never even feeling a puff of wind, right? And we all dream about those places.
Like those nooked in that little sweet spot.
Those are the places that you want to know about, right? Yeah. Like that in almost any condition, you're not going to get blown off the hook. And so anyway, it's been a really fun experience, like getting into that book so much more intimately than we were before. Before it was a tool for us, and now there's like oh, there's a lot more to learn.
Yeah, and you're part of it now.
Yeah, and so many more. And like I said, we were out on Saturday for 3 hours. I never saw a soul.
That's
Love
beautiful,
that, man.
In all your experiences and adventures, is there a story that stands out to you that was like life or death that you want to share?
The first thing that comes to mind is a Prince William Sound story, for sure. And it was a hunting story, so you guys will probably appreciate that a little more than my bullshit snowmobiling stories.
So it was wintertime.
It's November. It's what started my November annual birthday deer hunting trips.
Okay.
Which were almost wildly unsuccessful every single time. Because Prince William Sound deer hunting can be a crapshoot, right?
Big time.
I had the use of a 28-foot Kingfisher that we had as a demo, and it had a single 300 Evernoot on it. And I was like, a couple of guys that have gotten me into moose hunting pretty good. I invited him to go on a trip with me. I'm like, we'll go do a few nights and we'll go out to Naked Island. It'll be good. I knew a little bit about the weather and a lot. I mean, I can't say a lot. I knew a little bit about the weather and I knew what I was getting myself into. But we left on a pretty beautiful winter, pretty typical winter November day in Whittier, right? And wind blowing out of the east. So coming at us the whole way out, 3-4 footers, 28-foot Kingfisher.
Yeah.
I'm skipping across the top. I'm only doing like 25, 28 knots just to conserve fuel. And a bayliner leaves around the same time as me, but a bigger one with some horsepower behind it. And of course, only thing in my mind is this clown is going exactly where I am, so I have to race him to get to where I'm going so that I can get the only spot that you can possibly anchor in the area I'm going to, right? We get right about to Perry Island, and now it's like 5 footers, and this boat is just a little bit ahead of me to starboard, and he turns broadside to these 5-foot waves. And I'm watching him for a minute, and I'm like, he's broadside still, he's broadside still. He doesn't have a kicker, he doesn't have a dinghy, he's broadside. So I hailed him because I'm like, if I get around Perry Island, I'm not gonna be able to hear him anymore, and there ain't nobody out here to help this guy. Turns out I hailed him
on 16, or
I hailed him on the 16, and he responds that he's dead in the water and doesn't have a dinghy and doesn't have a spare motor and is drifting like 12 knots to the west side of Perry Island towards the rocks. And there's no beach on that side of Perry Island.
It's just cliffs.
Just rocks and cliffs.
there's sea lions.
Yeah, to eat you.
Yeah.
Those things are scary, man.
Anyway, I'm like, they are. But and I'm like,
They almost got Brooks last summer.
Yeah.
dog,
Yeah.
that's scary.
Yeah.
I would never let my dog off the boat.
Oh yeah, man. We were playing fetch. I saw him over there, that bull, like, I don't know, 300 yards away. I was like, oh, I'm fine with it. Throw some, he went under. I was like, all right, Brooks, come out. She came out and like 2 minutes later came up right where she was. So it's just like, where's my food?
Sketchy.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, all right, I'm got to help the guy, right? So I go over to him and I get him to get me a line, and it's like, it's blowing pretty good, but now we're only going 8 knots. It was a 34-foot bayliner, and I'm towing him in. Now I'm with the wind, so I've got a following sea that's just a little bit faster than me, and so we're rocking and rolling. But I got all the windows open now, and the sun's shining, and I've got a following sea, and I'm only feeling like 5 knots in the boat wind. So we got Bob Marley playing, and I'm sure there was a couple cocktails out because we're going 8 knots.
Yeah, you guys are in a good place. Yeah.
7 hours later, I get him to the fuel dock, and I haven't burned much fuel because I was barely idling to towing him. So I'm like, I did the calculations. I got plenty of fuel left. That boat had like a 225 gallon tank or something. It was a little bigger than what I think you could get on those other, the newer ones.
Yeah, I want to say that's like a 185 or something like that.
They were a little bigger with the older one, and then they shrunk the tank.
Yeah.
But
why'd they do that?
they didn't listen to Alaska dealers for a minute.
Man, I mean, there's just never enough fuel.
Somebody wanted more storage over more fuel, and we were like, that's just stupid.
Oh, okay.
30-footer, you could still get it.
Okay.
Well, so I'm like, okay, well, cool. And he's like, hey, I want to give you some money. And I'm like, that would be great. That would be great, because I probably burn, quite a bit of fuel. And so actually, I take that back. We did have to get fuel, but I unhooked from him. Harbor master came out and got him. He hung out the window, grabbed me one of those like Contico coffee cups, threw me the coffee cup. I opened it. I saw some Benjamins in there. I'm like, all right, cool. So I went to the fuel dock. I filled up. It was like $4.50. There was $300 in the coffee cup. I was like, all right, this is starting off pretty fucked up, but I did my part, right? It cost me $150 to help this guy. Cost me a day, right? We still left that night. We go out, and the weather had laid down just a little bit, so we get all the way out, and the first night started snowing, and it started blowing somewhere around 60 knots out of the east, and it was just coming down off Naked Island right into Outside Bay, and we were in Cabin Bay at the time, so the northern one. I don't know much.
Is Cabin Bay got the emergency
Platform.
response?
Nope, that's Outside Bay. So
That's Outside
Cabin
Bay,
Bay is
okay.
like basically just upwards of the center of the island on the west side, and then Outside Bay is below it with the mooring buoys.
Oh, right.
And so we're blowing around on Cabin Bay, and I'm like, I can't get the anchor to hold. I can't get the anchor to hold. I can't get the anchor to hold. And it's almost complete whiteout. I'm like, so I'm looking at the chart. I had never been to Naked Island before. It was my first trip. And I'm looking at the charts, and I'm like, there in Outside Bay, there's a creek, and looks like maybe a tidewater slough, right? And I'm like, if I can get the boat up in there, it's going to be high tide in about 3 hours. We can get in there, and then I won't drag anchor. We can get some sleep. So I go outside of Cabin Bay to Outside Bay, and it's 25 footers. Immediately, as soon as I got to the
Around
tip,
the corner there?
as soon as I got around the corner, it's 25, and I couldn't turn the boat around.
Oh, shit.
And I'm, in the
25-foot seas.
25.
So you're like going down in between them now.
I wasn't going down in between them. I was stuck down in between them because I had that thing firewalled, and I could not get the boat to climb up the other side. So I'm like down at the helm like this, right, looking up for the top of the wave just to get orientation. There's no light. It's pitch black.
Oh, shit.
And so I'm driving by the GPS, and I'm just looking for the tops of the waves blowing off, and I'm making progress. Just super slow progress. Took us a little over 2 hours just to get around, right? If you were any other time, it'd take you 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes, yeah.
And I got around to where I could see the lights of the emergency response vessel. And I'm like, okay, at least I've got some help if something happens, right? Now, so I'm down when we're down in the trough for 2 hours fighting the current, I thought we were going to die. I mean, like that's what the memory I have is. It's just black all around me, and their waves aren't breaking because they don't break out there.
They're just rolling.
They're just huge, and their wind's blowing off of them, and you can hear, and it's rocking the boat. And I'm firewalled and can't get what I feel like I can't get the boat to move. And so that's like the most scary part of the trip. But we get in there, and I'm like, you feel some relief when you see other people. Right? So I know the service vessel is there. I could call for help if it got really bad. Maybe one of the Foss tugs is around, and they'll help us. So I get in around them, and I try to anchor up in the head of the bay, and I'm still blowing, and I'm drifting. So then the high tide's coming up, and I was able to actually go up that creek and turn into that lagoon, and we stayed there for 4.5 hours, got a little bit of sleep, pulled the motor up, boat went dry on the mud, and pulled the...
That must have been the best feeling ever when that boat just stopped.
I didn't sleep at all.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because I'm still freaking out.
Yeah.
But I felt a lot better. Yeah. But I found a good spot. We come out of there the next day, and we're just done, right? Like we didn't even bother.
No interest in even doing nothing.
And it snowed a shitload, and the weather was down for a minute, and we just take off. So we're heading back, and we did when we first got to Cabin Bay. We shot one deer on the beach. We were we're stoked. Ate it that night. It was that big. Gone. 3 dudes. Gone. That was our first Prince William Sound deer, and
most delicious.
It was so good, so good, and so small. We get back, so now we're heading back across, and I'm like, so the weather's like kind of decent now, right? And so it's like midday, and I'm like, fuck, let's dip into North Twin or East Twin and West Twin Perry, and let's hit the beaches or whatever. And I shot a fucking huge buck, like the biggest buck I'd ever seen in Prince William Sound, especially on Perry Island, and super stoked. Got a big buck, and the tide was just perfect where I pulled the boat up to this cliff, and it just hovered there. I'm driving the boat. I shot the deer, get the boat, get back going, get to the cliff. They jump out, get it gutted, get it back on the boat, and we're off and going again. I'm like, fuck, that was...
And we got a buck.
Yeah. We got a buck. I get out from Perry, and I start heading down Passage or towards Passage, and I'm right at the same spot that I started towing the boat, bottom of Port Wells, Culross, all that shit right there. And I got west coming, and I got a north wind coming, and so I got like 3 and 5s or whatever. And the boat's banging, 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 and I look at the anchor, and I'm like, within, I don't even know how many splits of a second it is. I'm like, fuck. I watch the anchor go bump, bump, pew, straight under the boat. I'm like, fuck, and I put the boat in neutral as fast as I could, and I heard, and I'm like, fuck, we're going down, get the dinghy off the roof, get the kicker right now, get the shit, get the ditch bag, get out of the boat. Like, we're getting out of the boat. We have to get out of the boat. The boat's sinking. And we get all that shit out, get it in the water. The boat's not sinking. They get the kicker in the boat, but not on the transom. Get our shit in the boat, in the dinghy, ready to get in the dinghy. And I'm like, hold on a second. And we're getting tossed everywhere. It's just like 5-footers, boats dead in the water. The motor's still running. I'm like, what the fuck? The motor's still running. I had took it back to neutral. I was sure that I didn't catch it in time, and it would have just blew the gear case, chunked the motor out. I'm looking around. I opened in the back of a Kingfisher 28. I opened the back. No water in the back. I'm like, there's no water in the back. So,
so you thought the anchor punctured the hole?
Oh, I was 100% positive.
Oh, the way it dropped and
it went dink dink, and it was gone, and it sucked out. The 40 feet of chain was gone in 2 seconds. So I was sure they went into the hole somewhere, right?
Yeah, you were full. You were at.
We were probably doing 25 knots.
Okay, you're clipping along like normal. Yeah,
and I didn't have. Well, I'll tell you in a minute.
Sure.
I know what happened now, but so I'm like, okay, everything's good. We're not taking on water. I pull the motor up. The chain is wrapped around the prop about 7 or 8 times. I'm like, for sure, the gear case has got to be shot. But we're not taking on water, so put the kicker on the transom. Let's get that thing fired up, and we'll just start making some headway. We'll call the Coast Guard, know we're coming in or whatever. While they're doing that, I get the chain off the outboard, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna at least check to see if that thing will go in gear. I'm like, I don't see any oil anywhere. It's not wrapped around the gear case, it's just the prop.
Did you have to jump in the dinghy and then wrap around to get to the?
I was way too scared to get in the water, man.
You were on the transom.
I hung over the end of the motor with it tipped up.
Oh, okay.
And I did what I could. I got the chain all off there, and I spun the prop both directions neutral. I'm like, okay. I'm like, hey, put that thing in gear. Put it in gear. Prop starts spinning. I put it back down. Of course, it's out of the water, which it 100% shouldn't have been.
Yeah,
because mine was everywhere.
Wouldn't recommend that.
No, mine was. This all happened really fast, but my mind was just mush, right? Yeah. Totally mush. Fucking thing didn't do a damn thing except for ding one of the blades of the prop, and that was it. Put the dinghy back in the boat. Reeled the chain and
false alarm
back up in and got back underway again. Dead silence in the boat, right? Like,
damn.
So 2 times I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah.
And the lesson I learned was, because this wasn't my boat, the anchor windlass brake was loose. So this whole trip was fucking ruined because the windlass brake was loose, and so at night when the wind was blowing, it was slowly paying out line.
Release.
I thought I was dragging
anchor.
I was holding anchor. I was convinced of it, but I was paying out line.
Yeah. Was that the big chrome?
Yeah, on the front.
What do they call that brand?
The windlass.
Lumar.
Lumar. Yeah. It's got the nice little It's a nice anchor puller.
So the brake was loose, and so since the brake was loose, it was paying out line, and then that's why it bounced and it took off of the. And I didn't have it secured. It's a no for sure.
On the Lumar, you don't. So what I do when I use that is I throw it through, but then I pull the underside up and then put on a cleat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You didn't do that.
Fuck no. Yeah. That thing. Nope. I was going deer hunting, man.
Yeah. Well, I can see easily not doing that. That's what I do.
Do I do that now?
Yeah.
You don't think to do that until some shit like this happens, and you're like,
or you're told repetitively by somebody you don't listen because you're a male and you don't listen to anybody else's advice. You learn from your own stupid mistakes. Absolutely. But I'm actually now big on. I like black bungee cords on it. I like black bungee cords. I love that. And
just on the anchor while you're in motion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then it makes a great scrubber if you're like bouncing off the rocks a little bit. You can use that and you can use that to make like a decent little bridle and keep it from like. There's a lot of like one of the things I hate the most is being on the hook and having the anchor line tug at your windlass all night. You can use you can wrap it. You tie a loop in your anchor line. Put the hook through and then go up, and then you've got the sag in your line, and then you don't get the
shock absorber. I like that.
So that's like I have a lot of really shitty stories, like everybody that's been in Alaska does. You guys have seen a lot of your stories and stuff, but like that's like, because we're talking about Prince William Sound and like that's a good one. That was good. that was a good experience, and it did not deter me, right? Like, I mean, I've now been on deer hunting trips where, like, if there wasn't a dozen deer dead below deck on the second day, it was a bad day. Like, it's been fun, and changed our program a little bit, learned a lot of shit, and yeah.
That's good.
Do you go out with 2 boats now?
I try to always go out with 2 boats. Last year, I went out a little earlier than somebody else could get out, but I went out before a faster boat, so I was confident, and he got out to us, no problem. And I definitely, like, I learned something from some commercial fishermen a long time ago, people that boating forever, and like, if you leave the harbor and you don't have at least a level of anxiety, put your boat away.
Yeah.
Don't leave.
Yeah, you don't have a heightened awareness, and you're not dialed.
You don't, and I'm like, I always do. Like, for me, when I see sight of where I'm going to drop the hook, man, this, like, calming, relax. There's a different calming of being on the water and cruising. And then when I get there, I'm like, oh, I mean, it's just like this total relaxation.
So relieved that you made it and you're in a safe spot.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, I don't go out in super shitty conditions generally, but I've almost always got my whole family on board. And so if something were to happen, like, there's a finite amount of time you have to rectify that situation. And if you're not prepared and stuff, and I'm prepared, and I still have that feeling, and I'm glad I have it, because it makes me boat differently, I think. I don't take zero reason to take a risk when there's going to be another better day, you know?
Absolutely.
I've called a lot of trips off, and I've stayed in the harbor. A lot of people, well, you stayed in the harbor this week. I'm like, it's fucking 25 and 5. You got a big boat? Yeah, sure. That's real fun. Doesn't matter what size boat you're in.
You beat the shit out of yourself.
It's a real big boat until your engine becomes disabled and you're drifting at 14 knots towards the rocks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everything okay up there, honey? Yeah, it's just fine, babe. Yeah, Coast Guard.
Well, thank you, Nick, for coming on and preaching and telling us your story and all the cool things that you're doing for Alaska and providing these awesome brands, everything that you're doing with Alaska Mining and Diving Supply. If people haven't checked out the show at Alaska Outdoor Living and Recreation Show, Fridays at 2:06.
2:06 on the dot.
2:06. And what's the AM station?
650 KENI.
650 KENI.
You can check it on iHeartRadio.com too. We're like in there with all the big dogs.
On iHeartRadio.com.
At the bottom.
Yep. Right on. And if you're looking to get into any kind of power sports or mining or anything like that, 100% go down there to Mountain View and check out the boys out there at AMDS and get after it. Thanks for coming out and spreading your story and doing all the things that you're doing for Alaska, and we appreciate you.
Well, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Let's get you back on to talk about the history of that guide, the cruising guide, Prince William Sound.
We got a whole show to do on that.
Yeah.
We do. When we have time for that. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll have you back on. Yeah, many more stories. Many more stories.
Definitely.
Thank you, Nick. We appreciate you. Alaska, thanks for listening. Stay wild.
You remember my speaking to you of what I call your overcautiousness. Are you not overcautious when you assume that you cannot do what the enemy is constantly doing?
The Alaska Wild Project podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Barney's Sports Chalet, supplying hunters with the best hand-selected gear since 1963. The exclusive home of frontier gear built for the rugged Alaskan terrain. Your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs. Visit Barney's today at 906 West Northern Lights.
Arbor Digital, the forefront of digital assets, cryptocurrencies, and wealth management, providing a low-cost, research-based investment strategy for Alaskans looking to invest their hard-earned money. Visit acminc.com today to put your money to work.
Tailored Restoration 24-hour emergency home services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, repair, and remodeling. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, or Fairbanks. Hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.
Total Truck and Alaska Overlander, Alaska's premier supplier for custom automotive accessories and overlanding products, providing all-inclusive rental vehicles and trailers custom outfitted to explore the Alaskan backcountry with a unique and convenient traveling experience.
Serrano's Mexican Grill, 2 locations, one on Tudor, one on Northern Lights. The Northern Lights location has their new tequila bar. Check it out. Also see their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
TheTreehouseAK.com, located at 341 Boniface Parkway, Alaska's own and grown cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bud tender what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off. the Treehouse, where the culture lives.
The Connoisseur Lounge, Alaska's premier locally owned and operated cannabis retailer, located in the heart of Palmer, Alaska. Their cultivated products include Snowcap Romance, Aurora Haze, Super Glue, and much more. Find them at theconnoisseurlounge.net.
AKO Farms, located in Sitka, Alaska, built from the ground up with concentrates as their single motivation, with exclusive products such as their sugar wax, full spectrum diamond sauce carts, and more. Ask your local bud tender about AKO. Marijuana has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming and addictive. Marijuana impairs concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence. There are health risks associated with consumption of marijuana. For the use of only by adults 21 and older. Keep out of the reach of children, and marijuana should not be used by women who are pregnant or breastfeeding.
The Bait Shack, located on Ship Creek upstream of the bridge. Can't miss the bright red shack. They are the go-to fishing gear rental and guide service on Ship Creek. Tight lines and fish on. Come hook into the action with them. Hit them up at thebaitshackak.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located on 4th Avenue across from the old 4th Avenue Theater. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. From reindeer dogs to bomb euros, they've got you covered. Anchortown Dogs, your local gourmet hot dog and sausage cart.
Crude Magazine, Alaska-based media outlet using the last frontier as a springboard to discover larger truths about the cultures of our great state. Read more at crudemag.com.
Lawn Pro AK, Alaska's year-round professional property maintenance team. Services include snow and ice management, weekly lawn care, and more. Get your free estimate today at lawnproak.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off of Arctic and 58th, handcrafted Alaskan-made colonial ciders. They also have a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Stop by today and taste an award-winning cider.
Lady with a Plan, your own Alaska event planner. From scouting the perfect location to planning the tiniest details, specializing in event management and production for intimate social gatherings. Find Lady with a Plan on Instagram.
Should you not claim to be at least his equal in prowess and act upon the claim? I say try. If we never try, we shall never succeed. This proposition is a simple truth, and it's too important to be lost sight of for a moment. If we cannot beat the enemy where he now is, we never can. It is all easy if our troops march as well as the enemy, and it is unmanly to say they cannot do it.